Nayoon's only goal is to help her quiet friend confess her love to the band's drummer, until Seol, the popular vocalist with a smug smile, inserts himself into the plan. She planned the confession, and he hijacked the story. Back in May, during a school performance, Seol takes the stage as expected. But what catches Che's eye is Tae, quietly holding it down as the drummer of the 3 Days band. That's when it happens. She falls for him, hard. Months pass, and the feeling doesn't fade. Now, determined to help her friend end this long stretch of one-sided affection, Hwang Na-yoon prepares to carry out a plan. She walks over to the boys and casually asks Tae if she can speak with him for a moment about their programming assignment. But before anything moves forward, she catches Seol watching her. His stare lingers and she quickly looks away, silently wondering why someone that good-looking wouldn't at least try to keep his gaze a little more modest. As Tae stands, he blurts out that he's planning to retake the class after getting a D. Just as he's about to grab her by the arm, Seol reaches out and stops him, placing a hand on his. He says they should let him join in the conversation. To Na-yoon's surprise, he also mentions that he's taking the same class. Still focused on her mission, she nods and suggests they talk outside. Earlier, while Tae and Seol chat about their band's performance, Yoon Jung-ni, seated beside them, points out that this is the first time since the formation of 3 Days that a first year has become the lead vocalist. She shares how Seol's popularity has soared to the point where nearly everyone in school knows who he is. Tae reacts playfully, accusing her of favoring Seol again and making him feel ignored. Yoon Jung-ni assures him she's well aware of what he's good at too. Meanwhile, at a different table, Na-yoon urges Chae to stay calm. Chae pleads with her to follow through with a request she made earlier. Taking a moment to breathe deeply, Na-yoon finally agrees. It's revealed that Chae-ah has been quietly harboring feelings for Park Tae-hoon for the past 6 months. Na-yoon, however, struggles to understand the attraction. To her, Tae seems plain, especially when compared to someone like Seol. As they step outside, Na-yoon quietly wonders how she'll manage to separate herself from Seol. The plan was simple. She would start a conversation with Tae outside the bar, creating a natural moment for Chae to appear. Then, she'd make up an urgent excuse and ask Tae to escort Chae to the Sunway station. However, things don't unfold as easily. Seol, still not catching on, questions whether she chose Tae as her partner for the assignment. He presses further, asking what exactly is wrong with him. He reminds her that he received an academic warning last semester. She calmly acknowledges that she's aware. Still unsatisfied, Seol continues, pointing out that it doesn't make sense for the school's top student to partner with someone flagged academically for a team project. Inwardly, Na-yoon reflects on his confrontational style. Thinking that he must have picked computer engineering for a reason, he argues like a professional. She starts to suspect that his persistence might not be about the project at all. There's a rumor going around that he got a B+ in their liberal arts course last semester, which cost him a full tuition scholarship. Instead, he only received half, while she secured the full one thanks to her straight A+ grades. Even with that, Seol remains determined to understand why she chose Tae. Fast forward. Na-yoon and Seol are being intimate, and it is her first time. It's their first kiss, first relationship, and first love. And she believes it would be her last love. She watches him silently for a moment, struck by how he resembles a fairy tribe's strikingly handsome leader. Just as she's about to speak, Seol breaks the silence, calling the moment crazy. She quietly wonders what kind of emotional calculation led him to that response. Their eyes shift to Tae, and Seol suddenly asks if she has feelings for him. Caught off guard, Na-yoon doesn't get a chance to respond before Chae walks up to them. Na-yoon introduces her as a friend from middle school and mentions that she's a first-year student in the Department of Western Languages and Literature. Chae subtly nudges her to act quickly regarding Seol. Taking the cue, Na-yoon abruptly asks if Seol wants to get ice cream. He questions the sudden offer, and she casually explains that her mouth feels dry after the spicy stew. He agrees. Tae offers to join them, but Seol tells him to stay back with Na-yoon's friend, promising to bring some back. Inside the shop, Na-yoon thanks him, and they each choose an ice cream, pay, and head out. Sitting by the roadside, Seol brings up her earlier action, admitting it surprised him. She replies that it's not impossible. He points out her sensitivity about grades, saying it's strange that someone like her would pair up with a student who received an academic warning. He figured she must have had another motive, perhaps feelings for Tae, and assumed she was going to confess. Na-yoon reacts in shock, and Seol teases her, laughing and asking why she's blushing. He insists it's not that far-fetched. Then, with no hesitation, he confesses that it was the reason he followed them outside. He didn't want her to confess to Tae. If she had, he says, he would have lost his only chance. She questions what he means, and as he wipes a bit of ice cream from the corner of her lips, he replies, it's his chance to confess to her. The next day, Nayoon sits in a cafe working on her laptop. In the group chat, Tae keeps sending messages about their assignment. Seol eventually tells him to stop and suggests waiting until Nayoon replies, assuming she's busy. As the texts keep coming, she stares at them silently, lost in thought. Since starting university and living on her own, Nayoon had spent her first semester adjusting to the demands of campus life. By the second semester, she began to find a bit of spare time. But instead of feeling free, she was filled with unease. While others seemed to enjoy their independence, she couldn't relate. What filled her heart instead was a growing homesickness. She constantly missed her mother, now living alone back in their hometown. She remembers how, whenever she heard odd sounds outside her apartment, she would run to her mom, clinging tightly, just like she did when she was younger. She recalls a painful moment when her mother was told to abandon her for safety, but refused. Her mom's heartbreaking question about how Mr. Hwang could close his eyes and leave Nayoon behind resurfaces in her memory. She remembers asking about her father's whereabouts and avoiding her mother's gaze, sensing deep sadness behind her expression. From all this, she concludes that her mother must have built inner strength over the years to protect her. While most people go through separation anxiety in childhood, Nayoon feels she only began experiencing it at 20. She realizes that entering a relationship before achieving emotional independence could make her overly dependent, leaning on someone else whenever loneliness or fear strikes. Instead of rushing into love, she wants to prove to her mom that she's grown into a responsible adult. And to do that, she knows she first needs to stand strong on her own. Romance, she decides, can come later. The day she told Seol she'd think about it, he simply nodded in silence. Now, she finds herself wondering what kind of answer she's supposed to give him. Later, Tae calls and asks why she hasn't been checking her phone. As they talk, Nayoon finds herself questioning what exactly Chae sees in someone as loud as him. Tae suggests they meet to talk, but when she doesn't commit, he pushes it to 6 p.m. after class the next day. While walking, Nayoon's eyes catch a poster featuring the 3 Days band. She steps closer and sees that Seol, Tae, and Eun Jung will be performing on Thursday. The sight stirs her memory, reminding her that Seol never expected her to give an answer right away. Not long after, she walks into a cafe. And there he is, already on a call. Feeling awkward about being alone with him, Nayoon decides to wait outside until Chai and Tae arrive. But Seol quickly spots her and waves. She approaches and takes a seat across from him. He looks cheerful, and she finds herself wondering who he's speaking to on the phone. Her question is answered when he ends the call by saying, "Dad," and then apologizes for the wait. Turning her head, she glances behind, wondering when the others will show up. But to her surprise, Seol tells her they're not coming. She questions him, reminding him that they promised to meet her there. He casually explains that Tae, who just got a girlfriend 5 days ago, is too caught up in the excitement to bother. Nayoon argues that Chae would show up even if Tae didn't, but Seol shoots that down too, pointing out that expecting a Western languages major to show up for an engineering team project was a flawed assumption from the beginning. Moments later, he mentions that he's hungry and suggests they grab something to eat. She considers proposing they eat separately, but before she can, he starts listing meal options. Seol looks at her and comments on how pale she seems, then jokingly asks if Tae is draining her energy. She wonders why it has to be Tae, and admits silently that Seol is the one exhausting her. When he asks directly if he's the reason, she brushes it off and suggests they go. As they walk, she becomes aware of her racing heart. The possibility that she might be starting to like him unsettles her. Just then, he bursts into laughter. When she asks why, he says it's because someone suddenly looks very transparent. He keeps offering her different food choices while she tries to pick, but she senses something is off. There's an error somewhere, yet she can't quite place it. Finally, she blurts out the question on her mind. Why is he doing this to her? As they continue chatting, he casually mentions that they're talking about fish, and then asks what else she likes. She brings up a particular drink, and they talk about the first time he saw her drinking at the bar. He recalls both the general and final meetings, and she realizes he's been paying attention to her even back then. She explains that she only drinks occasionally with Chae. He then jokes about what he should do now that Tae has taken Chae from her, telling her to think about it carefully because the new couple will likely be inseparable and prefer to spend time alone. She reflects on how Chae has been contacting her less often since starting the relationship, And a quiet sadness creeps in as she realizes she might be drifting away from the only friend she ever truly opened up to. He reassures her, promising to be there for her. But as she watches him, she silently questions how someone so attractive could genuinely be interested in her. A thought crosses her mind. What if this is just a game or a bet among the guys to seduce one of their female classmates? They finally arrive at the place, but her preferred type of fish isn't available. He asks if she's okay with the one they do have and shares that. Since his mom doesn't cook often, he's gotten used to eating whatever is available, even if it's not great. That's why he was surprised to learn her mother runs a sashimi restaurant. She sighs and quietly reveals that her dad passed away, and her mom has been running the restaurant ever since she was little. Later, while drinking soju, she asks why he likes her. He answers simply, "It's because she's pretty." She laughs and tells him he's good-looking too. But he corrects her with a smirk, claiming he's not just good-looking. He's handsome. She tries to deflect by saying she isn't that pretty, and he jokes that he'll have to teach her how to use a mirror. He observes how alcohol can bring people joy and courage, noticing how much she's laughing now. Then she drops a quiet truth. She isn't thinking about dating yet. His face flushes, but she gently explains her thoughts. He asks if that counts as a perfect rejection. Still trying to keep the mood light, he changes the subject by asking where her mom's restaurant is and wonders if her words mean they can't even be friends. She reassures him that's not what she meant. He smiles and suggests that they at least get along from now on, and she agrees. He then takes her hand. A bittersweet feeling rises in her chest as she thinks that maybe when she's older and has more life experience, she'll regret not accepting his feelings. But for now, she knows the memory of this night, and of him, will remain in her heart as something gently radiant. After they eat, they walk down a slightly dim alley. The atmosphere reminds her of that night. Just like before, Seal escorts her all the way to her apartment. When they arrive, he silently watches as she heads to her room. She slips inside and gives him a quiet update. As he turns to leave, he suddenly glances back. Without understanding why, she instinctively hides from his gaze. Since then, Seal keeps appearing in her dreams, chatting with her at the bar, locking eyes with her while singing, waving at her, even showing up holding her favorite fish. But in real life, he's nowhere to be seen. He hasn't shown up at school for an entire week. She starts to wonder if he's deliberately keeping his distance after what happened between them. One day, as she sits with Tae and Che notices her looking pale and asks if she's feeling unwell. Tae suggests it could be the flu that's been spreading recently, then casually mentions that Seal has it too. That's why he hasn't been around. He adds that their club is in trouble since Seal is the main vocalist for their upcoming performance. While she's still processing that, Tae throws in a playful line about how his own love, Chai, needs to dress warmly. The two start teasing each other about how they wouldn't be able to kiss if they got sick. Nayoon, annoyed, suddenly stands up and grabs her bag to leave. She mutters under her breath, "Hopeless romantic." Even though Che's relationship is still new, she's surprised by how much Che has changed already. It's been a while since they last hung out properly, and yet Che doesn't even ask her to stay longer. On impulse, Nayoon decides to call Seal. When he picks up, he confirms that he really did catch the flu, but says that what hurts more is getting dumped by her. Just hearing his voice makes her chest tighten with guilt. She mentions how his club is in a frenzy without him, missing their lead singer. He asks if she's also in a frenzy because she misses him. She doesn't answer directly, but the words she couldn't bring herself to say before keep spinning in her mind. She tells him she's home, and the call ends. She lies down and eventually dozes off, until her phone suddenly rings again. It's Seal. He asks if she wants to step out for a bit because he's standing right outside her door. Surprised, she quickly throws on a long blazer and hurries out. And just like he said, there he is, standing outside, holding a package meant for her. Seeing him outside her door, she's surprised and immediately questions whether he should be walking around in such light clothing. She worries aloud about him catching a cold again. He reassures her that he's already feeling better. Then he hands over the package, explaining that he actually meant to give it to her the day after they ate cutlass fish together. Inside is a pair of gloves. She's touched and praises his effort, especially considering how sick he's been. He soon says he'll be on his way, and she quickly retreats back inside so he can leave without delay. Watching from her window, she calls out and tells him to call her once he gets home. He agrees. The following morning, after the performance, Nayoon is on the phone with Che. Che excitedly shares that Seol sang for a full hour, and that the highlight was the carol section, where every member wore Santa hats. She jokes that if Seol were Santa Claus, instead of asking him for a gift, she'd be the one to give him one. Che even sends some pictures of him from the performance. She then shifts to talk about the after-party, which she says was even more fun than the main event. Some seniors who had graduated 3 days earlier were in attendance. One of the female seniors asked Seol if he would date her, but he turned her down. While some found his rejection rude, the girl walked off quietly. However, she later returned when Seol had gotten a bit drunk. She asked again if his refusal had anything to do with her age. Another girl nearby told her to stop pushing the matter since he had already declined. That quickly escalated into an argument between the two women. Meanwhile, Seol, drunk and overwhelmed, suddenly broke down crying at the table. Che describes the mood as painfully awkward. Curious, Nayoon asks why he cried. Che pauses, surprised by the question, but then continues. She explains that while crying, Seol blurted out that he can't accept every confession he gets, because he knows how much rejection can hurt. He admitted that he had been rejected recently and that he still felt sorry about it. That statement threw the entire band into confusion, and everyone started whispering, trying to figure out which girl had turned Seol down. Che laughs, adding that some of the seniors wanted to make Seol confess publicly on the club's official SNS page. She had to step in and stop them, thinking it was going too far. Che then asks Nayoon if she's not at all curious about who the mystery girl is. Nayoon dodges the question by asking how she's supposed to know. Che doesn't press further, but notes that Tai doesn't know either. Deep down, Nayoon feels relieved that no one suspects her. Just then, a call comes in, and she tells Che that they'll talk later. She answers, it's Seol. He brings up how she didn't attend the performance, clearly disappointed. She explains that she had to travel to her hometown right after exams ended because the part-timer at her mom's restaurant suddenly quit. He tells her more about the performance, and she mentions that Che already praised it. Still, he says he was disappointed not seeing her there. Then, he casually adds that he got a business card from a talent agency. He asks if he should go for it, become a singer. But before she can respond, he follows up with a question that makes her heart skip. Would doing that make her like him? She pauses to think about his question, then agrees, saying she'll make a fan cafe for him. He laughs, then casually asks if the restaurant is busy. She tells him it's currently break time. Even though there's a surge of customers due to the year-end rush, she's managing just fine. It's not new to her. She used to do this every weekend back in high school. She adds that her mom even gives her pocket money for helping out. Although she pretends not to know anything about the after-party or what happened there, she chooses not to ask if he's doing okay. Inside, she wrestles with regret. She feels she should have told him they couldn't continue as friends, that they ought to keep things strictly classmate level and maintain some distance. That thought stings more than she expected. Telling him she needs to return to work, she adds that she won't be able to answer calls because things are busy. He asks what time she usually goes to bed after her shift, and she replies that it's around 3 a.m. Though it's difficult for her to push people away, she hopes to slowly put some distance between them. She's always found it hard to cut ties with people, but she also knows too well the pain of someone vanishing without a word. After the call, she notes that her chest feels tight. A mix of regret and sadness weighs on her, and she's unsure if it's because Seol is the one hurting or because she didn't accept him. Though she's legally an adult now, she feels painfully inexperienced in matters of the heart. Her mom enters and immediately asks if she's been crying, noticing her red eyes. Nayoon insists she's just tired. Her mom offers to let her rest for the evening. She and her aunt will handle the dinner shift. As she stands, Nayoon mentions that today's reservations are double what they had yesterday. Deciding to stay and work, she pushes through. While they chat, her mom pops something into her mouth and then asks if she plans to keep living in her room. Nayoon replies that she'll stay at least until February. She then asks whether she should just move into the dorm, but her mom protests, saying the food won't be as good and she can't bear to see her daughter skipping meals and suffering alone. Her mom suddenly suggests they close the restaurant and move to Seoul together. Her aunt quickly interjects, teasing her sister for treating Nayoon like a child and asking what they would do after shutting the place down. Nayoon feels a twinge of guilt for the money she spends on rent and other expenses. She doesn't want to add to her mother's burdens, which is why she's refused to upgrade to a better dorm room. She reassures her mom that her current place is fine. Plus, it's close to the engineering building. Her mom gives her a light smack on the butt and tells her to speak up if anything ever happens. They laugh and joke around for a bit before getting back to work. That night, Customers keep flooding in nonstop until 1 a.m. As soon as she arrives home, she crashes onto her bed and falls asleep immediately. Earlier at the restaurant, her aunt had told her that her phone had been ringing nonstop. Nayoon told her not to worry. She'd check it later. The next morning, she finally looks at her phone. There's a message from Seal. He sent a photo with a playful caption, asking her to guess where he is. Her eyes widen in surprise, and she wonders in disbelief if he's actually there right now. She calls him right away and asks where he is. When he responds, she grows alarmed, realizing he's only 10 minutes away from the restaurant. He says he hasn't eaten lunch yet and wants to try grilled cutlass fish. She tells him the restaurant is fully booked for dinner, but offers to recommend another good spot nearby. Just then, her aunt overhears and speaks up, confirming that there's space. Curious, she asks if it's a friend on the line. Nayoon says yes, and her aunt tells her to invite him over. Hearing the exchange, Seal asks if that was her mom, but she tells him it was her aunt. Without warning, her aunt grabs the phone and gives Seal their location. Afterward, Nayoon begs her aunt to go away. On the other end of the line, Seal laughs and tells her he's already on his way. Soon, her mom comes out to greet Seal, mistaking him for a regular customer. He politely says hello and introduces himself as her daughter's schoolmate. When her aunt sees him, she comments on how handsome he is, then bluntly asks if he's Nayoon's boyfriend. Caught off guard, he hesitates before clarifying that they're just friends. He explains that he was traveling and remembered that Nayoon's family lived here, so he decided to stop by. Her aunt jokes that it sounds like one of those classic lines where someone says they just picked something up along the way. Nayoon feels like telling her aunt to stop talking, while her mom just pretends she didn't hear anything. Her aunt then mentions preparing food for him, and her mom agrees to help. They encourage Nayoon to go sit with him while they cook. Nayoon realizes that the space she was trying to maintain between them is gradually shrinking. He compliments the place, saying it's really nice. She pours him a glass of water and then asks directly why he came. He replies that he was worried, just in case something bad happened. When she asks what kind of bad thing, he doesn't answer. Before he can say more, her mom arrives with the food. Her mom asks if the two of them are classmates, and he confirms it. Then he compliments her mom, saying she's very pretty. She laughs and urges him to eat well. He takes a bite of her favorite dish, the grilled cutlass fish, and says it tastes great. When they ask if he really skipped lunch, he admits that he did, because he wanted to eat with her. She questions what he would have done if she hadn't called him back, and he answers that skipping one meal wouldn't have hurt him. Waiting was better. She quietly wonders what exactly it was he was waiting for. Then she asks what his plans are next and if he's heading back to Seoul. Seal chuckles and says he had hoped he was mistaken, but it turns out he was right after all. Nayoon quickly gets to her feet, saying she has to return to work and tells Seal to head back safely. As she notices her aunt struggling with a crate, she moves to help, but Seal steps in and lifts it before she can. Afterward, he offers to help replace the light bulb. Her aunt is grateful, and when he asks if there are more bulbs that need changing, Nayoon is about to tell him to stop and leave. But customers walk in, and her aunt sends her off to attend to them. Later on, when the crowd has eased, she spots Seal still lingering and asks why he hasn't left yet and why he's doing all this. He casually replies that her mom promised to pay him generously and that it's no big deal. Before she can respond, someone places an order and Seal rushes off to handle it. Once the customers are gone, Seal thanks her mom for the food and the opportunity to help. Her mom thanks him more sincerely for his effort. He then offers to stay and help for a few more days. Her mom kindly declines, saying that while it was thoughtful of him to help tonight, she would feel guilty if he continued, and her daughter would likely be uncomfortable too. Nayoon watches this exchange and silently notes how her mom effortlessly draws clear boundaries in a kind and tactful way, something she struggles with. She wonders when she'll grow into someone who can navigate the world as smoothly as her mother does. Then her mom surprises her by suggesting she go out and enjoy some time with Seal. Taken aback, Nayoon worries about the possibility of more customers arriving, but her aunt assures her that Sunday nights are usually quiet at this hour. Her excuse no longer works, she prepares to go. Honestly, she feels uneasy about being alone with Seal, which is why she was clinging to the idea of staying to help. Her mom hands Seal his pay and tells him to make sure Nayoon returns by 11 so she can rest for the night. He agrees, and Nayoon tells her mom they'll be back in time. As they walk together, Nayoon glances at him, recalling how hard he worked at the restaurant. It doesn't feel right to send him away without doing something more. So she asks if there's anywhere he wants to go. He says he'd like to ride the cable car. They get in and sit across from each other. Before long, Seal brings up the elephant in the room. He asks her to confirm if she was really thinking of cutting off their friendship. She admits it, and he says that's why he came without any plans. He wasn't sure what to do if she truly didn't want to see him again. Nayoon explains that she had intended to take her time to sort through her feelings, but before she can say more, tears slip down her cheeks. Seal notices and gently asks why she's crying. He warns her that if she keeps crying, he might start thinking differently again. He then asks if she's crying because she feels sorry for him, and if so, whether he should make her feel even sorrier and use that against her. Then, almost to himself, he confesses that he feels like he'll keep becoming a bother to someone who's always been kind. After a pause, he asks how she plans to figure everything out and reminds her that he once said, "Sometimes waiting might be the best way." He tells her how excited he felt just being near her, then says she doesn't know how much he likes her. She responds that he doesn't know her that well, but he argues that if liking someone depended on knowing them fully, divorced couples wouldn't exist. He asks if she plans to never date anyone, then says that can't be true. So he promises to wait until she's ready and asks her to consider him then. Until that time, he'll stay by her side as a friend. He asks if she'd be okay if he dated someone else, saying she can think he forgot about her. She acknowledges he isn't wrong. Still, he pleads with her not to push him away too clearly, saying he wouldn't survive it. She replies that she doesn't dislike him and calls his name. He says he won't say things like that again. When she asks if he's liked anyone else before, he says she's his first. He first saw her in their open-source software class. Back then, Tae wonders why there are so few girls in their department. The guy next to him suggests checking the student list. Seol questions their curiosity, and Tae asks if he isn't curious too. Seol says he is, but prefers to meet people naturally. Tae complains about the gender ratio and hopes there is a department goddess. Seol recalls rumors about himself. How he couldn't get into medical school, though he chose engineering by choice. How people say he made girls cry and inherited his looks from his mother. He avoided dating those who confessed, thinking it'd bring trouble. Though admired, he felt objectified and just wants to start fresh in university, free from labels. Tae repeats his question. Kim, beside them, says Seol would research thoroughly before dating, unlike Tae. Tae argues Seol just relies on his looks. Seol chooses silence. They then stumble on Nayoon's photo. They admit they haven't seen her before and comment that she looks strangely pretty. A girl nearby says she has the vibe of a ghost girl from a scary story. Tae imagines it and agrees. Just then, Nayoon walks in, passing by Seol. He notices the scent of soap coming from her. He turns to look at her. Their eyes meet, and he greets her, but instantly feels it was a foolish way to say hello. The lecturer arrives, ending the moment. Later, Tae says he needs a good final score. Kim suggests teaming up with Nayoon, noting she's top of the class and does well on her own, so he could ride on her efforts. Meanwhile, Seol asks Seo Moon-young for Nayoon's number. She questions if he wants to team up too, saying he's the 20th person to ask. She suggests he talk to Nayoon directly since they share a few classes. He denies this and says he just wants to tell her to avoid people trying to use her. Moon-young asks who he is to say such a thing and points out that Nayoon knows how to handle herself. Seol replies that she's smart, just quiet. He simply wants to help her escape biases, though he realizes she sees the world very differently from him. Moon asks if he's close to her. He says no. She mentions she's just the class rep and questions why he's getting involved, warning that his popularity could affect Nayoon's daily life. Just then, she announces the professor's arrival, but Seol heads off to play guitar, wondering if his concern for her might actually mean he likes her. Back in high school, he enjoyed band activities, but never intended to continue in college. He once told his dad that music was just something to boost his student record and relieve stress. When his dad asked if he was giving up something he loved, he answered that he hadn't truly given it his all. His dad, seeming to understand, comforted his pride and encouraged him to find his own path. Seol remains thankful for that. In the music room, Tae claims that about 30 girls have confessed to Seol, all of whom he rejected. Annie observes that guys like Seol only date when they meet someone they genuinely like. She says he's not swayed by popularity, but lets his personal values guide his relationships. He prioritizes quality. Tae asks what she thinks about him, and she says he seems easygoing but has too much pride to confess first. She predicts he'll date the first girl who confesses to him, while Seol would overthink before confessing to someone he truly likes, meaning he'll likely only date someone he confesses to himself. After exams, Seol spots Nayun at a bar but doesn't approach her. He trails behind and watches her chat with a friend outside. When someone calls his name, he waves and walks off, lost in thought. He considers confessing but decides it might make her uncomfortable. So instead, he resolves to get closer to her first and confess naturally when the time is right. Seol ends up praying desperately, hoping he can one day be on the same page with Nayun. After that moment, he starts watching her more closely in class and begins frequenting the library, hoping to catch a moment alone with her. At a bar gathering later, his attention stays locked on her. He can't help but wonder why her eyes keep drifting toward Tae and why she's drinking alcohol. Eventually, she walks over to their group and asks to talk to Chae. Seol, sensing an opportunity, asks to join the conversation. After the confession proposal and rejection event, he joins Tae and Chae the next day while they chat about an upcoming match. When Nayun contributes to the discussion with a smart remark, Tae playfully praises her, calling her clever and tossing in a few charming words. Chae, however, begins to worry since Nayun hasn't shown up yet. Seol calmly assures her that she'll arrive soon, and when Chae questions how he's so certain, he casually reveals that he called her beforehand. She's surprised, but a few minutes later, Nayun shows up and joins them. Seol goes ahead to order a drink, and their conversation shifts to beer. Tae calls him an Eol Mango, which prompts him to reveal that Seol's father runs an imported liquor business alongside his uncle. Seol considers shutting Tae up by force for exposing too much, though he's relieved Nayun didn't catch the nickname. That relief doesn't last long. Nayun soon turns to him and asks if he likes frozen mango. Tae bursts into laughter and explains that the nickname refers to someone who relies too much on their looks and ends up failing a confession. It's Seol's nickname, and Seol, clearly frustrated, takes a sip of his drink. Tae then brings up the after party, grinning as he recalls how Seol cried his eyes out, confessed, and got rejected. Leaning closer, Tae whispers in Nayun's ear, asking her to hold Seol back before he loses his temper and goes after him. Tae, still teasing, turns to ask who exactly rejected his friend. Chae, enjoying the story, says he's dying to find out. Just then, a near miss by the players grabs their attention. After the moment passes, Seol and Chae raise their glasses in a toast, sharing a cheer. Tae laughs at the pair and calls them pitiful, adding that if they're that jealous, they might as well start dating each other. Their attention is drawn back to the screen as the soccer team scores, and everyone erupts in celebration. In the excitement, Seol and Nayun hug each other and hold on for a moment longer than expected. Watching the scene, Seol jokes that maybe this is why so many babies are born the year after the World Cup. Chae, observing the two, smiles and asks Seol if he's enjoying himself. Seol plays it off casually. Meanwhile, Nayun wipes her eyes. Seol notices and asks if she's crying. Chae answers for her, saying she gets emotional easily. Nayun picks up her phone. Seol asks where she's headed, and she replies that she's going to the restroom. As she walks away, Chae watches her and turns to Seol without knowing a smile. She then guesses that Nayun is the girl Seol once confessed to. He doesn't deny it. She asks since when, and he says since early March of the previous year. Chae comments that her friend is extremely self-conscious. Nearby, Tae, a bit lost in the conversation, asks what they're talking about. Chae fills him in. Tae reacts with surprise, but it clicks for him. Nayun really does seem like the type who wouldn't get into a relationship easily. He adds that she's strict with her studies, always pushing herself in prep groups and study sessions with seniors. Chae notes that Tae knows quite a lot about her friend. Seol agrees. He knows it too, and that's exactly why he feels so anxious. He admits that Nayun drew a clear line between them, one that kept them as just friends, but it worries him. He's afraid she might eventually fall for someone else, especially considering how many seniors and classmates have shown interest in her. Chae is surprised by how much Seol is paying attention. He goes on to say that just having a chance to see her this way is precious, but Chae warns that meeting up like this would be difficult if Nayun ever found out. She then recalls that the incident at the after-party had something to do with her. Seol asks if she ever told Nayun about it. She nods. Back in the present moment, Seol quietly says that Nayun was going to stop being friends with him too. Chae confirms it. He wonders if it was because she had already found out about the Il Mango incident. Back at the place where they had watched the game before, Nayun returns from the restroom. As she joins them, a light conversation starts about her chubby cheeks. She explains it's because she visited her grandmother during the break, and her grandma kept feeding her. Just then, their team scores again, and they all hug the person next to them in celebration. The next day, Chae calls Nayoon and invites her to a concert. Nayoon agrees to go with her. At the concert, a group of high school girls nearby excitedly talk about Nee, the band's keyboardist, as well as Tai and Seol. They both feel a bit jealous hearing the girls chatter. Meanwhile, Nayoon starts feeling unexpectedly annoyed and wonders why the attention from others is bothering her so much. Then her eyes meet with Seol's across the room. Chae quickly picks up on Nayoon's mood and asks if it was a mistake for her to come, especially since she'd mentioned having a lot of assignments. Nayoon assures her it's not, saying she'd finished most of them earlier. Still curious, Chae asks if something is bothering her. Though she doesn't know the real reason, how the high school girl had been loudly shouting sweet things at Seol, Nayoon insists there's nothing wrong. As the event wraps up, Chae rushes over to meet her boyfriend, and the two share a kiss. Nayoon, watching the scene unfold, quickly turns away. Meanwhile, the same high school girl boldly approaches Seol and tells him they should date once she gets into university. He laughs and gently scolds her, saying she should concentrate on her studies since she's in her final year, and adds that she really needs to stop showing up at all his gigs. Nayoon abruptly turns and heads toward the restroom, her thoughts racing. She knows now there's no excuse to hide behind the idea of being an old-fashioned adult. Those feelings are real, and they're getting harder to ignore. After the April performance, Nayoon begins to distance herself from the three of them, using studying as her reason. Even though she still runs into Seol during shared classes, he no longer approaches her like he did last winter. It seems to her that he might be sorting out his feelings on his own without much difficulty. Before she can reflect too deeply on it, finals take over. When finals finally end, Chae runs into her and suggests they hang out since it's all over. She has a lot to talk about. But Nayoon begs for a rain check, admitting she hasn't slept in 3 days. Chae is stunned that she stayed up all that time for a particular exam. Nayoon explains that Latin is harder than it sounds, even at the beginner level. Chae, who has always loved watching Spain's Primera Liga, majors in Spanish, while Nayoon chose computer engineering for its strong employment prospects. She finds people like her friend, those who follow what they genuinely love, admirable and fascinating. Once again, she's struck by how little of her own preferences played a part in choosing her path. She doesn't quite regret it, but in hindsight, it does feel somewhat foolish. Chae then mentions that some guys from her department are going on a group blind date that night with first-year girls from the musical theater program. The group blind date is happening in place of the department's usual end-of-term party, and everyone is buzzing about it, especially since Seol is going to be there. The moment she hears that, Nayoon tells Chae to go ahead without her. She claims she left something in the lecture room and needs to go retrieve it. As she heads off, her thoughts drift to which class Seol might be in at that moment. But just as she's thinking about him, she suddenly sees him in front of her. He quickly steps closer, gently holds her, and asks what's wrong. Seol says she almost got hurt and asks where she was rushing off to without even looking ahead. She grabs his hand and asks if he has a moment to talk. He agrees, so they walk into an empty classroom. Once inside, he quietly locks the door behind them to keep others out. She looks at him and asks him not to go to the group blind date. He looks surprised and asks why. She explains that a lot of people end up dating after those events. He replies that it's not just about that some people go simply to meet new people, expand their network, and relax after finals. She nods, saying she understands. Then she adds that Tai isn't going. Seol replies it's because Tae already has Chae. At that moment, it hits her. He already knows how she feels, and he's been avoiding giving her a response. That quiet realization makes her chest tighten, and tears well up in her eyes. Then she finally says it. She likes him. He acts like he didn't hear it, so she repeats herself, this time apologizing for telling him so late. She recalls what he said during the cable car ride, that even if she confesses later, he might not feel the same anymore. So she asks if that moment has already come. Should she just let go? Her voice shakes as she pleads inwardly that he won't push her away. She apologizes again, turns around, and tells him to have fun as she walks off. But his voice stops her. He asks where she's going after making him wait all this time. Then he tells her to come to him. She does, and they hold each other tightly, finally sharing a long-awaited kiss. She wonders if kissing always feels this nice. Now she gets why Chae and Tae are constantly glued to each other whenever they get a chance. What surprises her even more is that Seol, who never seems nervous, not even when singing in front of crowds, is actually trembling in her arms. Just then, someone outside the classroom calls out, asking if anyone is inside. Seol gently touches her lips and tells her they should go. The door creaks open, and the person outside, clearly a security staff, looks startled to find Seol there. Bowing his head quickly, Seol explains that they stayed behind to discuss an assignment. Nayoon also apologizes as they both slip out past him. As they walk away, she reflects on how dependable Seol has always been. Back when she told him she wasn't ready to date, he suggested they remain friends. And even when she said being friends wouldn't work, he still convinced her otherwise. Since then, he never crossed any boundaries, but stayed within a distance she found comforting. That kiss, so desperate, so sweet, was only possible because it was with Seol. Then he asks if they should grab dinner, and she agrees. Just then, Che calls. Turns out Nayoon left her phone with her, and she's been waiting. When Che finally spots them, she notices their hands clasped together and gives her phone back with a teasing whisper. "You better tell me everything later," before dashing off. Nayoon turns to Seol and asks if her face is red. He smirks and tells her it looks like it's about to explode. Suddenly, someone else walks up. It's Nee. When she sees them, she blurts out, "Ayo mango," finally. The group of students with her gasp, clearly surprised to find out it's Nayoon. Caught off guard, Nayoon doesn't know how to react, but Seol acts totally unfazed. He casually tells them that he and Nayoon will head out first, then leads her away. She turns to him, half laughing, half annoyed, and asks how he can be so calm about everything. It's almost like he's done this before. He grins and admits he's run the scenario through his head at least 10,000 times. Then he wonders out loud how it would feel if they actually end up together. During the break, while she's at a restaurant, Nayoon calls Che. They talk about how Nayoon hadn't told her yet about her and Seol. She apologizes, and Che tells her that next time, she better meet up with her before seeing Seol when school resumes. Just like she does before going to Thai. Nayoon promises she will. After the call, she thinks about how starting this fluttery new relationship is exciting, but being even closer with her best friend feels like the best part of it all. Then she remembers she was chatting with Seol before Che called. Scrolling back, she sees the picture he sent with a caption asking her to guess where he is. Realizing he's been waiting for over 30 minutes, she quickly dials his number. She tells Seol she was on a call. He replies that he's there to see the beluga, but complains that it doesn't recognize him even though they've met before. She sighs, annoyed that he didn't let her know ahead of time. He grins and says he wanted it to be a surprise. He offers to stop by her family's shop, and she glances around before telling him it doesn't look like they'll be having any more customers anyway. Right then, her mom and aunt walk in, chatting about how they need to go for a walk to get more exercise. Her aunt spots her and comments loudly that she's scrubbing the table so much, it looks like the surface might peel off. Flustered, she ends the call and quickly asks her mom if she can head out. Her mom reminds her that she told her not to come in the first place, but eventually waves her off, telling her to go. She hurries out of the store, and her aunt watches her leave with a curious look, jokingly asking if she's hiding a jar of honey somewhere. Panicked, Nayoon blurts out that she has an urgent online lecture to finish. If she doesn't, she won't be able to check her first semester grades, and worse, she might lose her scholarship. Her aunt gasps and tells her to hurry back quickly. While on her way, she texts Seol, telling him that this is the first time she's ever lied like this to her mom and aunt. Feeling a mix of thrill and guilt, she suggests they head to the aquarium, admitting she's never actually been there. He's shocked and asks if she's serious. In response, she fires back, asking if he's ever visited the Parasite Museum in Seoul. He frowns, questioning if that kind of place even exists. She smirks and says no, but points out that it's not like he's been to every museum in Seoul either. He chuckles, calling her out for being oddly extreme for choosing a parasite museum of all things. She tells him she just wanted to say something he probably hasn't done, but to her surprise, he says he's actually been there. His uncle lives nearby. She stares at her phone in disbelief. Then, unexpectedly, he tells her that he misses her. Her heart skips. Soon she arrives and finds him waiting on the second floor. The moment she sees him, she points at his head and asks what he's wearing. Did a shark bite him or something? He grins, places the same shark hat on her, and says it should bite her too. Then, they kiss. He pulls back just enough to tell her that he felt like he was going to die from missing her. They fall into another kiss, and she melts into it. A strange peace wraps around her, unlike anything she's ever known. Until now, her mother was her greatest source of strength. The security her mom gave her helped her grow even in a rough world, by forcing her to build up a sensitive and well-guarded defense. But the warmth Seol gives her, the deep sense of comfort, The quiet feeling of being entirely safe makes her feel bold, free, light in a way she's never felt before. He teases her a little, then suddenly declares that she really loves fish, especially raw, and that it tastes the best. She frowns at the dramatic buildup, asking what on earth he's trying to say. He smirks and tells her to stop looking at him like he's the tastiest one in the room, even though there are plenty of actual fish around them. He pulls her into a back hug and softly suggests they go see the penguins next. She agrees with a light smile, teasing that it's not like she can cook and eat him. He grins and shoots back that she has no choice. She'll just have to be eaten raw by him. Then he grows curious and asks about the meaning of her name. She explains that Na stands for graceful, and Yoon means beautiful. When she flips the question back to him, he says Seal means to give, and Woo means excellent. But then he smirks and adds that Seal has another, cheekier meaning. Something about being excellent at getting it up. They stroll together, pausing in front of one of the tanks. As they observe the fish swimming lazily past, he comments that these ones bite if someone messes with them. Then, with a glance her way, he adds that they're kind of like her. She bites the moment someone touches her lips. Before she can respond, he leans in and kisses her again. As they continue wandering, a familiar voice calls out, "It's Yoon-gyeol." He looks surprised to see her and asks how long it's been. Seal answers for them, saying it's been about a year and a half since high school graduation. Yoon-gyeol nods and compliments Na-yoon, clearly impressed. Curious, Yoon-gyeol asks if she came with a friend. Noticing the look on his face, Na-yoon replies that Seol is her boyfriend. Seol simply smiles and greets him politely. Yoon-gyeol introduces himself, saying he used to live next door to Na-yoon when they were little and now lives just behind her place. He reminisces about carrying her around on his back as a kid, but admits it feels surreal seeing her with a boyfriend now. He then casually suggests they meet up again before she returns to Seoul. Na-yoon hesitates for a second before telling him that her mom doesn't know yet, so he should keep quiet for now. He laughs, teasing that Seal has already earned himself a future son-in-law pass just by his looks. He then tells her to say hi to his mom and aunt, but she quickly reminds him that her boyfriend is still a secret for now. He nods and waves them off with a cheerful, "Have fun." As they walk away, she groans softly and mutters that she's totally screwed. Yoon-gyeol has a loose mouth, and he'll probably go spill everything the moment he gets home. Seol raises his brows, realizing that this was her first lie to her mom about where she was going. As they continue walking, he quietly observes her expression. When her face is still, it gives off a composed elegance, like someone raised in a wealthy home, a proper little princess. But beyond that, he sees her maturity, how deeply she's grown up inside. To him, Na-yoon is someone who had to mature quickly, someone who's had to stand firm in life. That mixture of strength and vulnerability makes her both admirable and a little heartbreaking. That's exactly why he wants to cherish her with everything he's got. He runs a hand gently through her hair. She looks up at him and asks when he is going back to Seoul. Seol suggests they take a short trip together once he returns to Seoul. Na-yoon lights up with excitement and immediately agrees. It sounds like a great idea. Then he brings up something else. How about having dinner at her mom's restaurant tonight? She pauses, asking if he's really sure. He nods confidently, reminding her that he's already met her mom once, but this time he wants to officially introduce himself. He adds that her mom must have been so anxious after sending her precious daughter off to Seoul, so it's only right to reassure her that he's been by Na-yoon's side, taking good care of her. She gazes at him thoughtfully, then admits she was actually worried it might feel like too much pressure. But he just smiles and says he can handle that kind of pressure all day. Still, he asks if they should give her mom a heads up. Na-yoon shakes her head and says it's better to just show up unannounced. If she warns her ahead of time that she's bringing her boyfriend, her mom might go overboard, like taking a boat to the South Sea to catch a dragon to cook for him. That makes Seal burst out laughing, nodding in understanding. He adds that his own parents would probably make a huge deal out of it too if he said he wanted to introduce a girl. She confesses that her hands were trembling earlier, not because of him, but out of fear that she might say or do something awkward, make him uncomfortable or upset her mom. He gives her a reassuring look. When they arrive at the restaurant, they see her aunt stepping out. She's surprised to see them and exclaims aloud. They greet her politely and she squints a bit before recognizing Seol. She asks if he's the guy who stopped by recently and wants to know his name. As he helps her carry something, he tells her politely. She then asks if he's back at the seaside just to visit again, but he shakes his head and says he came to see her niece this time. Her smile widens, and she invites them in warmly, even suggesting she might just close up early since there are no customers. Inside, the aunt calls for Nayoon's mom. As the two walk in together, Seol greets her. The woman recognizes him and says it's nice to see him again. The aunt gives her sister a knowing glance, and then Seol offers a small package. He apologizes that the gift is a bit lacking. He was in a hurry. Nayoon's mom receives it with a smile and thanks him, saying she'll whip up something delicious to show off her cooking skills. He apologizes again for dropping in unannounced, but she brushes it off, telling him not to worry. As they're all settling in for dinner, Seol brings up their earlier encounter at the aquarium. How they ran into Yoongyul. That's actually why he came here in person, he says. He thought it'd be better to greet her directly rather than have her hear about it through someone else. Nayoon's mom looks impressed, calling it admirable that he thought ahead like that. Nayoon sighs and comments that Yoongyul spreads rumors like wildfire in the neighborhood. Even though they haven't done anything wrong, just knowing he saw them together made her feel guilty. Her mom gently corrects her. Lying to her mom was wrong. Nayoon immediately confesses that it was the first time. Her mom surprises her by telling her to go ahead and keep the little lie going, to do fun things behind her back. She even encourages her to experience a fierce, overwhelming dilemma from time to time. She adds that they're both adults now, not foolish kids who would do something shameful they can't take responsibility for. Nayoon remains quiet, touched by her mother's words. Seol looks over at her, then turns to her mom and says firmly, "Yes, ma'am. I'll do my best." That assurance was all Nayoon's mom needed to eat and drink so freely that she got a little drunk. Yet she was able to join Nayoon in seeing Seol off. Watching them say their goodbyes gives her this feeling of joy, prompting her to commend her daughter for choosing a humble, good-looking man. She has accepted him and is sure she'll remember him whenever she sees instant coffee. The mother and daughter then close up the shop and head home, where Nayoon's mom is still smiling because of her time at dinner. She recalls how handsome Nayoon's dad was and how he had her spending on parfaits just to see him. It's the first time she is talking about him so casually, and she reveals he pushed her away when she confessed her feelings for him. Nayoon takes after him on that note, sharing how she did similar to Seol when he told her how he felt. Her mom feels for the poor guy, but their chat quickly shifts back to Nayoon's father and his outrageous way of responding to her mother after she waited so long for him. I mean, the guy came to her school with a Navy uniform just to ask her out. To continue her story, she hurries off to get a photo album and they flip through its pages, starting from their wedding to the last picture in the album. She is certain her dad would have loved to meet Seol, but that won't be possible since he is asleep at sea. His passing is the reason why her mom's businesses have always been by the sea, and the shop's name is Yeonjong. It's all because she misses him and she is silently waiting for him to return. She never told Nayoon this because she didn't want to make things hard for her, and she understood this already. Honestly, this conversation was long overdue, allowing the mother and daughter's bond to grow stronger, and it also helps her sleep well at night. Nayoon, on the other hand, has to check with Seol before going to bed. She is grateful to him for today, thanking him plainly while holding back her true reasons, which was helping her understand her mother's love and him treating her mother well. Her love for him also skyrockets after the visit, leaving her envisioning his stunning looks in her sleep. After his visit, days go by silently and uneventfully until the day of the couple's outing they arranged. It's not just her and Seol, but Chae and Taek are also tagging along, so we know it's going to be eventful. At the station, Nayoon is getting ready to board when she gets a call from Chae. She wishes her safe travels and asks about Seol. That hottie was in Germany, and she is sure he probably just landed. He had told her to go on without him, and that's what she is doing. Chae wishes they all traveled together. Yes, because she is all about romance and the perks of having a partner. But since they didn't, she wishes her safe journey once more. Once off the call, it finally dawns on her that she will have to travel a few hours on her own. That immediately discourages her, but she shakes off the discouragement, boarding the train while thinking about how much she misses her man. She has never missed anyone this much and didn't even understand a mother's love. Her thoughts are busy until she gets to her seat and meets someone there. She can't see who it is because he is covered up, but tells him to leave regardless. When he refuses, she thinks about calling an attendant to get him to leave, but stops when he tells her this is his girlfriend's seat. It then hits her that it's Seol, and he proves her right when he does some dramatic reveal. He had expected her to recognize his back, but she is more interested in knowing why he is here when he was supposed to have just arrived. When they settle down, he tells her the tale of how he arrived 2 hours early and made his way here as quickly as possible. It was the plan all along, and his reason for booking a seat next to her. This guy is a next-level Romeo, not wasting time to give Nayoon a gift to show her he missed her a lot. It's a necklace, and just like in the movies, he helps her wear it on her like in the movies, and she promises not to take it off. It looks like they are starting to outlove even Che and Tae, but we'd probably get who loves who more after the couple's outing. Sadly, the first hours of the outing are uneventful. The gang sits quietly initially, but then Tae suggests they go swimming and have a bubble party. Suddenly, Che starts complaining about a stomachache and asks him to get her medicine. He is plenty concerned about her, and Seal offers to escort him, so they head out, promising to be back soon. Nevertheless, once they are gone, Che is miraculously healed, something Nayoon saw coming. She knew her friend was acting all along, even if she had the guys fooled. She explains that she did that little act to get out of wearing a swimsuit after eating so much. She also doesn't want to see anyone else but her man during this vacation. She continues the act when the guys get back, leaving Nayoon shocked at how clueless Tae is. However, seeing him panic is cute, until she is left alone with Seol. It's then what Che said about having an interest in only Tae's body that swims through her thoughts. She shakes off the thought, and she and Seol go into the room, both tired and desiring rest. Upon entering the room and spotting the king-sized bed, it dawns on them that they'll be sharing it, and that leaves an unsettling feeling in the room. Seol, sensing this, decides to break the ice by suggesting they both shower. Nayoon goes first, but can't get her mind off how cool Seol is at such a tense time. Does he know how tense and nervous I am right now? She wonders, her head deep in thought until she exits the shower. Seol then goes in to shower, allowing her to try to get ready for their night together. She can't bring herself to sit on the couch he just sat on, let alone lie on the same bed with him, and that becomes a problem worth her pacing about. Eventually, she calms herself down, simultaneously with the second he finishes and walks into the room. The pair linger a little before heading to bed, with Nayoon's mind sky high. She can't sleep and decides to find out if he is asleep, since his eyes were closed, but he assures her it was an act. This allows her to confess how she had missed him so much and all she wanted to do with him. She shyly asks him if he feels the same way. But bro is so smooth, replying with actions and not words. Things are about to get serious, and this is cool with Nayoon, who promised her mother that during the trip she would do things she could take responsibility for. The couple, after her assurance, go on to have their first night together as most young people would. And it's so magical because it's the first time for them both. The couple's outing went on as scheduled, and Nayoon got the hottest summer ever, before resuming the second semester. Seol planned to enlist in the army with Tae after this semester. To prepare for that, he handed over his spot as the lead singer of the 3 Days band to a junior. It was going to be quite the wait for their girlfriends, but Che suggested to Nayoon that they wait together. Upon bringing up this topic, she notices her friend's mood is down and presses to know why. Nayoon then reveals to her that Seol has refused to discuss this topic with her, changing the subject whenever it came up. Che isn't cool with this, demanding that she straight up ask him what's on his mind. Nayoon picks up her phone to fix a meeting, but knows Seol so well that she suspects something is on his mind, other than the army. Whatever it is, she wants to discuss it face to face, but things get weird when he tells her he is already outside her room. To allow them to talk freely, Che gives them space, but before leaving, she gives Seol the eyes, to show she isn't pleased with him. As soon as she leaves, they get to talking, with Nayoon asking him why he didn't go home early like he was supposed to. She can see he looks really down and they sit to talk, but she senses the distance. Finally, she asks what's on his mind and why he came. To probably ease the mood, he forces a weak smile on his face before he tells her she doesn't have to wait for him. It's a bombshell she didn't see coming and wants to know where it came from, so he tells her that he doesn't want her to be alone. They've dated for just 6 months and he will be gone for a year and 6 months. He wants her to be strong during his time away and promises not to blame her if she gets distracted. Honestly, he didn't know leaving would be this hard and his words leave her in tears, but she makes it clear to him that he is not backing out of this. He knew this time would come before he confessed to her, and she is going to wait for him until he is discharged. What follows is a warm hug, and Seol stressing about how he doesn't want to drag her down since she is about 20. Well, she is happier being above 20 and waiting for him. And in a shaky tone, she promises him everything will be all right. Once they are settled, he finishes saying everything he has to say, with a passionate kiss, filled with so much longing. The next thing we know, months go by. The guys are in the army, and Nayoon and Chai are having a chat. She just had career counseling from her professor and is sharing the details with Chai when Chai asks her if she plans to visit Seol. Nayoon doesn't think it's possible to visit someone who is in the army, only to hear he is out on leave. It's probably something he didn't want her to know, but her best friend seems to be bad at keeping secrets. Regardless, she wants her to act like she doesn't know, so she doesn't kill Seol's surprise after all. He's all about surprises. Sadly, after waiting for some time, she suspects he won't call. Usually, he'd call while he was in the army, but he suddenly stopped. Now he's on leave and hasn't reached out. Something is definitely wrong, and she gives him a call to find out what it is. To her shock, he's all harsh throughout. treating her like a stranger before he hangs up. He gave her no explanation for his attitude and refused to take her calls, no matter how many times she dialed him up. Concerned and worried, she reached out to her friend, and neither she nor Tae knew what was wrong. All she knew was that he hurriedly went on leave, not knowing anything else, making her feel helpless, and he didn't even bother to reach out. She knows something is wrong with him, but probably has faith in him. A faith that starts to waver when she stumbles upon a post of him and another girl. Fortunately for her, Che is at the diner, and even after being begged to stay away, she insists she is coming. She even begs her friend to make sure this time, Seol can't run from giving her the answers she deserves. Obviously, he doesn't know that he had been spotted, with this fangirl all over him when Nayoon arrives. Everyone notices how down she is, but that's not her problem. Her problem is the man who declares he hates clingy girls when he sees her. Even after that harsh comment, she asks to talk to him, to clear things up. But he's too busy with his new catch to hear her out. Che, to save her from the hurt she is in, steps in, begging that they leave together. But she presses on, pushing Seol to crack and demand she meet him outside. He is being so rude right now that Tae, who has been there all along, but said nothing, almost loses it. He almost causes a scene in the process, so they all move outside, where Seol kicks off the conversation with a smoke. This is unlike him, the smoking and this new attitude, and she needs to know what's going on. But instead of giving answers, he asks why she cares. He then reminds her that he had asked her not to wait for him, and the fact that she didn't move on is her fault, not his. He advises her to graduate from college, get a job, and meet someone better. He also wants her to forget him, letting us know that the Seol that Nayoon knew and loved might be gone for good. Yet she refuses to see this, requesting an explanation, which he doesn't give. Instead, he calls her dumb, wondering when the smart girl he knew became dumb. His words hit her hard, almost making her pass out when Tae charges at him, seizing him by the shirt and cursing him for being this rotten. He regrets calling someone like him his friend, but Seol doesn't look like he cares. Che, on the other hand, does care, rushing to her friend's side. But Nayoon isn't done trying. One last time, she reaches out to him and declares that something must be going on with him. She's right, because those words rob him of his earlier composure, causing him to pick up a broken beer bottle and dare them to keep talking. Tae is still willing to try, but Chae, recognizing the threat and how serious this is, gets him to let go. Honestly, this couple will be fine, but Nayoon won't for now, seeing as this is how her relationship with Seol ended. Fast forward to a few years after graduating, Nayoon is at a meeting with Lee Jung-ha, the executive director of the establishment she works for. She has grown a lot now and even has a team under her. She was called today to meet with a new team leader, who seems to be running late. Jung-ha assures her he isn't, since he told him to come 20 minutes later than her, just so he can have a word with her before his arrival. Sadly, she also came late because of a meeting, and he will soon be with them. From their short interaction, it looks like Jung-ha and Nayoon are quite close, but she is actually wary of him. That's because he is a deceitful man, focused on making team leaders turn on each other. She senses he is about to play another one of his games, but that's not what he is doing. He just wants to warn her of the new team leader and his little attitude issue. Asking her to get along with him because he is the developer of Thunder Warning. It's a reliable call app, compared to the works of Steve Jobs. Nayoon can tell it would have cost their company a lot to recruit him, and is probably ready to help out, until Jung-ha tells her that the guy requested her to be his deputy team leader. She clearly doesn't like this idea, wanting to know if she did something to the company that made them want to discipline her. Or maybe they are trying to get her to table a resignation letter. Seeing how worried she is, Jung-ha tries to butter her up by informing her of her salary raise at the time of her serving as a deputy, and other benefits that'll make it hard for anyone to turn down the offer. What catches her attention is when he informs her that after serving as a deputy team leader, she can become an executive in the company. It's a position she has been working hard for, and this is the easy way out, making her agree immediately. Now all that's left is the arrival of the new team leader that I'm sure everyone is dying to see. Upon his entry, one name comes to mind: Do Seol-woo. The man who broke her heart a few years ago is her express ticket to becoming an executive? It's a small world, really. Too small. His presence brings back memories, infuriating her, while he acts like they are all good, addressing Jung-ha while Nayoon is pondering how ill her luck is. She hoped to never see Seol again. And here he is, sitting by her new team leader. It's already bad, but Jung-ha, unaware of their past, worsens things by bringing up the fact that they were in the same university and department. Nayoon replies that there were many people in her department, so this is the first time she has seen him. But when he is asked if he remembers her, he says they were classmates, with a fulfilled smile on his face. Seeing his shameless face again makes her doubt her chances of being an executive, since she sees herself bringing him harm much sooner than later. Jung-ha, still not sensing any tension, praises Seol's looks, and Na-yoon weirdly agrees that he is still good-looking. She then beats herself up when she realizes her heart skipped a beat because of him. He is the only one she has ever loved, so it's possible that she still has feelings for him, but she knows better than to date someone she works with. At the moment, things are bad, but they only get worse when Jung-ha has to take a call and leaves Na-yoon and Seol alone. She prays they don't end up fighting, and instead of respecting boundaries, he tries having a chat. She makes it clear that they are in no position to speak informally to each other, but he thinks otherwise, leaving her to wonder if he has partial amnesia. He brutally dumped her, and now she doesn't even think she can greet him with a smile. To him, that puts her in a tight spot, because as she works with him, she'll have to work with a smile on her face. Ah, what a day for Na-yoon. First, she was promised a promotion. Then she discovered the key to that promotion was the man who hurt her. That's a lot to take in one day. No wonder she staggers into her home looking dejected and pops open a can of beer. She recalls what he said about her working with him, with a smile, and recounts every reason why that will be hard. That aside, tomorrow is Saturday and she has an MBA class she is to read for. But right now, she couldn't care less. All thanks to Seol. She is angry but also hungry, microwaving her food in rage before heading to her liquor cabinet. Ever since she got this job, she started collecting Korean liquor. Her interest, however, in this brand of liquor started after her breakup with Seol. She knew his father dealt with foreign liquor, so she wanted nothing to do with them anymore. It doesn't take her too long to pick out today's treat to help her with her sour mood, only to discover that it's scent reminding her of the cologne Seol used today. This was to help her forget him, but even her coping mechanism is working against her. Was she wrong to fall in love at 20 and let things get heated, only to be completely let go at 23? The end really affected her, wrecking her all round until she had to go and see her mom. She felt like it was the end of the world, and seeing her that way must have broken her mother. But she stayed strong, consoling her because she was once in a similar position. To cheer her up and help her start eating again, she preached on the value of food and sent her to her grandmother's house for the holiday. Through the old woman's magical cooking, her appetite slowly came back, and upon its slow return, she began to forget about the pain she suffered. She also started to read a variety of books, and by the time she left her grandmother's, she was mostly okay. And after all she went through, he comes back into her life acting like he didn't break her. Because of him, she was unable to find love, no matter the number of blind dates she went on. Fortunately for Na-yoon, she gets a call from her best friend Chae, who can tell she had a bad day. Nevertheless, it wasn't just her. She too feels so down that she considers jumping off her balcony. Turns out Tae had gone on another business trip, leaving her alone with the kids again, and that pissed her off. He works in the same company as Na-yoon, and Na-yoon assures Chae that she knows nothing about the trip because they work in different departments. Taking care of their 4-year-old son alone is really messing with her mental state, so Na-yoon offers to come over. She doesn't mind skipping a day of her MBA class, even if each class costs her 1,000,000 won. Chae is against the idea, but eventually agrees. After all, they are both very lonely right now. So lonely that Na-yoon had planned to drink until morning, but she'll cast that thought aside to spend the morning with her dear friend and her son. She plans to value the little joys that come along and is at Chae's place first thing in the morning. On getting there, she is greeted by her friend and not one but 2 sons, but she came prepared with various meals for them. Chae is very appreciative of this kind gesture. It's very motherly of Na-yoon, who was with her friend when she lost her mom. They were both 28 at the time, but fortunately for Chae's mother, she saw her daughter in a wedding gown and her first grandchild before losing the battle to cancer. Aside from the food, she got toys for her friend's son, keeping him busy while they chatted. During this chat, Chae wants to know if Tae actually traveled for work. Na-yoon assures her he did, but she doesn't know why she is so anxious. Maybe it's because all she does is look after their kids, making her feel like she is trapped at home and falling behind, while her husband works. To her, there are endless possibilities of how her life without him would be. Before marriage, she worked at a translation agency and planned to save up to allow her to go to Spain for her master's in interpretation and translation. It was a daring plan, but it never saw the light of day, because she is married and taking care of 2 kids. She doesn't regret any of her decisions. Even so, she ponders the question, what if? Leaving her sad, and all Na-yoon can do is cheer her up, and also bring her gossip because we know she loves bombshells. On that note, she tells her. She ran into Seol and her mood changes instantly. She is so mad that she curses him loudly, but fortunately for her, her 4-year-old son Jungkook is too busy playing to notice the comment. Because of him, the ladies are forced to revert to low tones, with Chae wanting to know everything about the encounter and if she has been meeting that jerk secretly ever since. Before replying, she notices Jungwi, Chae's second child, is asleep and advises her to take her kids to bed so they can talk better. She does so immediately, allowing Na-yoon to survey the room. smiling when she spots the wedding picture on the wall as she recalls an event from that time. It was late at night, and she was at a bar with Che dropped two bombshells that night. One was that she was getting married, and the other was her pregnancy, and Nayoon was happy about both. She wanted Nayoon to give a congratulatory speech at her wedding, and she agreed. Nevertheless, she kept confirming that she would be there, and one night, she dropped another big news. Seol was going to be singing at their wedding because he and Tai were best friends, even after the confrontation at that bar. It became clear to her that members of the 3 days and would be there, along with some of their juniors and seniors from school. That only meant she would feel more pathetic, even though she assumed enough time had passed and everyone would have forgotten about the breakup. Whether they had or not, she was going to show up for Che. But Che wasn't dumb. She didn't want her feeling alone that day and suggested she go on a blind date. It was impromptu, but she knew him as a decent guy who worked in her office. He was also going to the wedding, and this was a messy situation. But Nayoon had learned that the messier the situation, the simpler one should think. She had to go to her friend's wedding. Seol was going to be there because he and Tae were best friends, and she couldn't avoid Seol. So this new guy was the best solution she had. That's how she saw it. And that's the same thing Che had in mind. He wasn't as handsome as Seol, but she didn't care. She was going to meet him at the wedding anyway. Fast forward to a week later, she got to meet the man, and all she got from him was good vibes. He was a translator focused on English language novels, as well as a gentleman who seemed to have relationship experience. Sadly, she and this man didn't see after the wedding because their schedules didn't align. Maybe it was that, or the fact that he was too decent and there was no real spark between them. Nevertheless, at the wedding, as suspected, Nayoon ran into Seol, who as usual was the elephant in the room. She could tell he kept a good relationship with not just Tai, but also his bandmates. It was really their first time seeing each other since that incident, and she actually looked remorseful. Merely looking at him, it was clear he hadn't slept for days, maybe due to work, and he didn't even dress like someone singing for a wedding should. To add to all that, he seemed surprised to see her. But before they could even talk, her savior arrived. In no time, he guided her away, praising her gown and suggesting she was so gorgeous that he felt they should ditch the wedding and go somewhere else. Shockingly, Seol's eyes remained fixed on them, from when they left until they took their seats. For some reason, his look made her feel anxious, even though she was doing fine without him. Back in the present, all Nayoon can do is think back and smile, until Che returns, begging her to spill all the tea. So, she did, starting with how she was going to spend a lot of time at Gangwon-do because of work, meaning she won't be in Seoul often. Her friend didn't see what all these details had to do with Seol, until she told her about the part where he is a new team leader and how he requested her to be his deputy. And she accepted being demoted because of the benefits she was promised, not knowing the incoming leader was Seol. Che is mad after hearing this, but manages to talk her into wanting to kick out Seol and become the new team leader. Days go by, and on the day of her transition, it's sunny, matching Nayoon's mood. She got ready for day 1 of her battle, enjoying the executive treatment she has gotten so far, as she waits for her ride. She came prepared and ensured she didn't forget anything at home, which is necessary when you plan to be the youngest executive ever. Soon her ride arrives, an imported car worth over 300 million won, which she is happy to see, until she recalls her company only runs with domestic models. This isn't her chauffeur. It's her worst nightmare walking, Do Seol-woo. He explains that he is here because he heard there was no chauffeur available to pick her up. She claims she is honored that he came to get her, but wishes to go separately now. But he takes her luggage and stashes it in the car anyway. He then informs her of their scheduled video call with thunder warning during the drive and wants to know if she can assist him. She has to. She is his deputy. So she gets into the car and handles the video call while he drives. From her conversation with the guy from Thunder Warning, it's obvious that he used this video call just to get her to go with him. He doesn't stop there, however, fixing a meeting for Monday, when they are supposed to gather at the team house tonight. Everything is on track, according to him, because the rest of the team arrives on Monday, making her wonder why she is going now, when they should be going on Sunday to set things up. She tries to tell herself that all he is doing now is being professional, and keeping tabs on her because she is the youngest team leader in the company's history. Only for the feeling that he is being professional to fly out the window when he suggests they go to have dinner near the team house. Traveling together on their own is one thing, but having dinner together is another. She starts to question everything now. She didn't have the time to do so earlier because of how choked she was, trying to hand over successfully. Now that she has the time, she starts to ask herself why Seol chose her as his deputy. He looks so calm, but she is glaring at him, so much that he jokes about her wanting to put a hole in his face. He employs her to say what she has in mind, as she looks like she has a lot to say, and his comment causes her heart to skip a beat. Just to be safe, Nayoon has to remind herself that she is grown now. He probably did all this so they'll have time to clear up past tensions before the team introduction. If that's the case, she doesn't want to reconcile, which is why she complains about his cologne being too strong. To help her feel comfortable, he winds down his window, but the burst of wind that surges in scatters her hair, making him laugh. Now, there are a lot of things about him she can't stand right now, but his smile sits at the top, especially as she doesn't know what he really wants from her. She fears he thinks what happened between them was a joke. She had moved on before he stormed back into his life, acting like they were good friends, pretending nothing happened between them. He keeps the act going when they arrive at the team house and suggests they have dinner, but she refuses. After that long drive with him, she just wants to have dinner in her room, but the building is locked. Immediately, it looks like Seol has something to do with this, even though he reaches out to the executive director to find out what is going on. He then allegedly discovers that there was miscommunication. It's locked because they felt the team was arriving the following day. How convenient? Nayoon is furious, but he manages to calm her down and suggests they lodge in a place not too far out. She was against it, but didn't want to throw a tantrum about finding her own place to stay. She just wants to focus on tomorrow and hopes things will feel better when the other members arrive. For now, all she has to do is play cool, which becomes hard when he takes her to the same hotel he took her to when they were still dating. He even invites her for dinner, but she refuses, preferring room service to a time with him. She is about to leave when he stops her, demanding to know if she'll be this uncooperative while they work on this project. Well, he is one to talk. After all he did to her. A lot is going on in her head now. A million ways to react are in her palm, but she chooses to play it cool and show she doesn't long for him. She wants to make it clear that he means nothing to her, and that there is nothing left of him in her heart. No love, no memories, and no ruins of their breakup. To do that, she agrees to go to dinner with, but declares that she must change into something more comfortable. When she's done, she'll meet him at the lobby, and he agrees, suggesting they meet in 30 minutes. She wants to move separately from him, but right now she can't. He made all the room reservations and more, so she sticks with him for now. Accepting the key card he gives her, not making a fuss about them being on the same floor and not complaining because their rooms are by each other. At least she doesn't complain until she is alone in her room, collapsing to the floor with this desire to quit now. To help her mental state right now, she calls Chae, who sounds very lively, even after she tells her what's going on with Seol and the journey so far. Nayoon, who is quite confused right now, asks Chae if she should quit, but she encourages her to stay strong. Compared to her, who is a housewife, she is the youngest team leader and got a salary raise and is now looking to become an executive. There are a lot of reasons for her to keep fighting and not act like her 4-year-old son who is pissed because he didn't like the side dishes. She is glad Nayoon called her and encourages her to keep fighting and take Seol down, saving her a spot as the best friend a woman could ask for. Her words of encouragement strengthened our girl enough to make her go for dinner with Seol and get past their first meal, which was harder than you think. But now he wants to have another drink. Rejecting his offer is the best thing to do, but Nayoon, because of Chae's earlier encouragement, agrees. She plans to crush Seol, yet when he offers her whiskey, she refuses. Her excuse is that she doesn't drink foreign wine, and that hurts him a bit. He is the reason she hates it, though. He knows. Anyway, he suggests they make a toast, and she agrees, even though she remembers him having low alcohol tolerance. After the toast, Seol asks Nayoon if she is comfortable with him joining the company, and she admits she isn't. However, it's not due to leftover feelings, but because seeing him reminds her of her cringy past. She wonders if he knew this before coming to her company, and he confesses he did. Nevertheless, he didn't come here to spite her. He came because the deal her company offered was the best. He could have avoided her when he came, though, but he didn't, as he saw no reason to do so. Now that's a shameless thing to say. After he broke her heart and so many rumors spread about him that affected her, he says this? After he confessed to her and she fell for his looks and charm, and he made her believe he would leave her with memories to look back to? Only to leave memories she doesn't wish to look back to. After all this, he thought there was no reason for him to avoid her? A despicable response indeed, but she shows no reaction, wanting to know why he appointed her deputy team leader of his new project. In his defense, her capability spoke for itself along with the recommendations that followed. Annoyed, she makes it clear that she wishes he had refused and picked someone else, but he claims he saw no reason to do so. With this declaration, he pulls close to her, wrapping her in his woody scent and signature cologne that makes her feel fuzzy. Anyway, he said he had no reason to refuse. Why? She wants to know, and he tells her it's because he wants to be with her. Seriously? This guy? He really knows how to piss a girl off, annoying her to the point that she laughs hysterically. She wants to know if he sees her as a joke or if he enjoys messing with her, but he denies. At this point, with all the painful memories rushing back, she is about to break down, even after taking a gulp of liquor. She is sure that he'll see her as a joke if she cries. Just to be sure, she asks him if he had short-term memory loss, but he claims he didn't, meaning he remembers everything. If so, why is he trying to win her over again? Unwilling to entertain whatever ideas Seol has, Na-yoon begs him to quit now, right now. She has worked too hard to get here, advancing without recommendations or any boost of any kind. She doesn't want him to mess it all up for her, but he responds tenderly, as he did years ago when she fell in love with him. In that tone, he tells her that he can't quit because he worked so hard to get here, and because he prayed to God for a second chance with her. This looks like an answer to his prayer. He doesn't plan to miss it. Those words hit her like ice, strengthening her enough to call him crazy and bathe him in liquor for talking about getting another chance with her. In a fit of rage, she gets up to leave, but stumbles and almost falls when he saves her. With his arms around her, all she can think about is telling him to let go of her, but her lips refuse to speak. Before she knows it, she is at the counter, they are getting cleared, and she starts to wonder if she has ever gotten this drunk before. They only had 2 bottles of soju, and on their way back to the hotel, she is busy calling him crazy for thinking he has a shot at her. During the stroll, even though she is told that she is heading the wrong way, Na-yoon continues until she trips and almost falls again. Out of concern, Seol rushes to her side, but she coldly tells him not to put his hands on her, as if he really cared about her. He won't have brine. Her heart back then. Reluctantly, he obeys, allowing her to walk while he follows closely behind. His presence drives her insane. She demands that he go back to the hotel without her. Like a scolded puppy, he turns to leave and she watches him go, even though she badly wants to call him back. For 7 years, she buried this pain. Now it suddenly looks like it's all about to pour out. By the time she gets to her hotel room, she is crying, not knowing when the tears started, but knowing that it's Seol's fault. It gets worse when he shows up with this poker face, which is the last straw. Unable to push in her emotions any longer, she charges at him, demanding to know why he looks so smug when she is crying. She assumes he takes her as a joke, but he claims he doesn't. Just then she notices his eyes are darker, like some hole she's about to sink into. Determined, she pulls back, warning him that no matter what he does, he won't succeed in seducing her, a challenge he willingly accepts and conquers. A kiss and a whiff of his woody scent is all it takes for them to end up in his hotel room. Knowing fully well what is about to happen, she informs him that she is on birth control pills. The look on his face when he hears this is golden. It could suffice as payback for now. He probably thinks she has been fooling around, but that's not it. She leads him on more, playing with his feelings. It's funny how jealous he is being. He is annoyed that she probably met a few people after he left 7 years ago, but she didn't. She has only ever been attracted to him. The thought of being with someone else never came to her. But when the night passes and she wakes up with a bad hangover and him by her side, she knows she messed up. Na-yoon, feeling uneasy, sneaks out before he gets up and avoids Seol until evening when the entire group meets up for dinner. To her surprise, during the meal, Deputy Team Leader Han Minho proposes a toast to Seol, their team leader. Poor guy feels ambushed. No one warned him about any toast, but Na-yoon finds the suggestion suspicious. It makes no sense that he is suggesting a toast to a man who just joined the company and ended up in a higher position than him, who has been working there for quite some time. Also, she is his junior, but she was promoted to a position equivalent to his. That's enough reason for him to be upset in her book, so she isn't okay with the toast at first. Nevertheless, when she looks across the table and sees how shy Seol looks, she changes her mind. She is sure the intimacy last night has him feeling embarrassed and supports Minho's call for a toast. Seeing that there's no way out of this one, he gets up and toasts to them for agreeing with the sudden project reassignment and supporting him on the project. He hopes to work well with them, and that's something they can all toast to. Minho and the others have nothing but praise for Seol and Thunder Warning, the app he created. Apparently, it stopped them from getting scammed various times. Still, the app has its flaws, which is what this new project is about solving. With the workers so focused on work, Minho urges them to take a chill pill. Today might be their last day to relax properly before getting swallowed up by work. Na-yoon knows this and chills. Meanwhile, Seol is acting embarrassed. She is sure it's because of last night and is annoyed that he is acting this way after going out of his way to impress her. During their dinner, still because of him, she avoids all the foreign wine, deciding to drink only water. Minho, upon noticing this, asks if she is still cutting back on her drinking. He notes that during the company events, she avoids all the expensive wine. Her excuse is that she had a bad experience with wine once and hasn't been able to drink ever since. Somehow, he gets her, Seol too. That's why he has a troubled expression on his face. Nevertheless, the dinner continues. After sitting there for hours with all focus being paid to him, Na-yoon is fed up. She needs a breath of fresh air and steps out to get some. Not too long after she is out, she runs into Minho. He stepped out earlier, and seeing her here, he wants to know what's going on. At first, she thought it was Seol, but she is glad he isn't and tells him that she came out to speed up digestion. He agrees with the idea, although he wishes she had done this after having dessert since they are about to wrap things up. Right now, she wants something cold to help her with the burning feeling in her stomach. Fortunately for her, the second she thinks this, he suggests they go grab some ice cream. From ice cream, the two deputy leaders stroll back to the hotel under a starlit sky. Curious while gazing at the sky, Minho shyly asks Na-yoon if there is anyone who comes to her mind when she looks at the stars. Once upon a time, the stars made her think of Seol, but no matter how beautiful they sparkle, those stars died a long time ago. For that reason, her answer is no. He is, yes, though the stars remind him of his ex, whom he broke up with 3 months ago. With his response comes an awkward feeling, but she doesn't kill the topic yet. She allows him to sulk about the breakup and asks why he is acting all sad when he was the one who called things off. Slightly ashamed, he replies that the reason why they broke up was that he was thinking about another woman during their relationship. His reason upsets her even more. As someone who experienced a similar situation, she hates transfers. If she were to switch between subways and buses, she'd rather just take a taxi. Cheekily, he smiles and informs her of the 3-month mourning period he gave for his relationship. Somehow this pisses her off. She is annoyed that Seol didn't take time to reflect after he left her and feels it's necessary to do stuff like that after a breakup. While she is still thinking about this, he confesses that she is the woman he was thinking about. Never in a million years would she have suspected that he liked her. He now wants to know why she isn't in a relationship, a question that leaves her racking her brain for an answer that won't make things awkward later. She can't say she is too busy, but in the end, she doesn't have to say anything. Seol barges into their conversation, wishing to know what they are talking about. Politely, he responds that they are having a meeting of deputy team leaders and he buys it. Na-yoon, although she has been saved from an awkward situation, is disgusted by Minho thinking about her while he was in a relationship with someone else. Both he and Seol annoy her, but she has more respect for him because he grieved her. Deep thinking, nonetheless, doesn't stop the men from chatting, and she regains consciousness just as Seol is stretching out a hand to Minho for a handshake. Humbly, he declines, since he had spilt some ice cream on his hand earlier. In that instant, Seol steals a glance at her and then advises that the two head in and get some rest to prepare them for tomorrow's workload. From his tone, she can tell he eavesdropped on them, but doesn't know how much he heard. Humbly, Minho bows and urges him to head in first. He is pissed, but goes ahead regardless, leaving her glad that he didn't make things weirder by stressing on them going in first. On his way back, his rage remains viable to Na-yoon, because of how stiffly he walks back to the hotel. Minho, not knowing about his anger, cracks a joke about his walking step that she finds funny. He is her ex, she doesn't have to treat him with respect, but he is also her team leader, and for her social image and reputation, she shrugs the joke. To prevent any more jokes, she bids her partner goodnight, but he wants to know if she'll give him an answer tomorrow. Na-yoon, firmly and emotionlessly, replies that she has one major relationship rule, and that's never date a guy from work. She is already going places at OI Telecom and intends to continue giving her all to the company. Should they break up, she'd like to know if he'll quit. Nevertheless, he sees no reason to do so, stating that the solution to that would be that they never break up. It's a smooth reply, but she'd rather he didn't switch from confession to proposal. Accepting defeat, he tells her to head in while he'll stay back and have a smoke, and she obeys. He is sad he got rejected, though, and she has him on her mind on her way in. On a plain level, Minho should be every girl's dream man, with his good looks, proper attitude, and a well-paying job. But the thing is, she isn't interested in him. Right now, gazing into the stars, she doesn't even know what being interested is anymore. By morning, he'll be out of her head, surely, especially after the nice shower she has in her room later that night, before she goes to her computer to check her emails. She plans to browse through before calling it a night. But an anomaly in the form of Seol waltzes into her night, preventing that. He is at her door asking to see her, but when she opens up grudgingly, he has this bewildered look on his face. It's almost as if he felt she wouldn't let him in, but she did, and now he wants to know what was going on between her and Minho earlier. Last he checked, they slept together last night, but she decides to dim his candles. According to her, whatever happened yesterday was just a one-time thing. Things like that are to be buried and forgotten. But he doesn't plan to forget. Last night, he declared that he won't miss this second chance, and he was serious. Her words cut like a knife. Even so, she keeps her cool, as she knows that if she budges here, she loses. To make things easier, she tells him the same thing she told Minho, that she doesn't date guys from work. He might be her superior, but they are in the same department, and that's a big no-no for her. Sadly, hearing this, Seol now knows that she rejected Minho. The relieved look on his face irritates Na-yoon, so she messes with him by reminding him that she rejected his first confession. With that in mind, he wants to know if she plans to give the deputy team leader a try if he keeps asking, but she gives an unclear reply. She laughs at the plot that led to them meeting again like this, but he claims he saw this coming, after all. It's only her he has ever had eyes on. Yup, that's all it takes to make her break down again. Amidst tears, she pounds on his chest and reminds him about he broke up with her. How he treated her and how he humiliated her without even mourning their relationship. The little girl from the night he dumped her comes out fully. He agrees he messed up and hasn't forgotten all he did that hurt her. Nevertheless, he lived hoping for the day he'll get to apologize to her and confess again. Why does she get this way because of him? Is it because of the heat in her chest that's caused by her anger towards him? Or because her heart sparks every time she sees him? Anyway, he's talking about apologizing, which takes her back to the night she begged him to stay, but he coldly lit a cigarette and rejected her. She remembers how much she cried that night and wants to know if he suddenly wants her after meeting various women and finding out what a catch she was. She thought rationally with others, but he made her get unreasonable. Unreasonable enough to ask him if he is going to use his position against her, now that she is rejecting him. She assumes he is doing all this to force her to quit. Emotional rubbish that she is spewing, but she cannot control. Touched by her resolve, he promises her that he is truly in love with her and wants another chance. There's no alcohol this night, her head is clear, yet she permits him to try to get her again. Also, she'll like him to try seducing her again, and he wraps her in an embrace that feels like it was made for just her. Once more, he apologizes for everything, and all she can say is that she is going to put him through hell. She might just thoughtlessly break his spirit, it's risky, but this is a risk he is willing to take. Just when we think things wouldn't get any stranger than they are, Na-yoon asks Seol if they can sleep together often. The man she knew from way back could never accept a deal like this, but this Seol does. Anything as far as he gets to be hers is fine with him. Okay, they are both crazy about each other, even though she is starting to feel guilty about her request. Anyway, it's late and she wants to get some rest. For that to happen, he needs to leave, and she orders him to do so. He leaves, hoping to return tomorrow night to kick off their agreement. Just like that, the day ends with a cold night and is replaced by a bright, warm morning. By the time she heads down to get to work, Minho is already seated with Seol and 2 cups of coffee, one from each man. Which should she drink? If she takes Minho's own, she gets the chance to mess with Seol, but she'll also give the man the impression that she likes him. To prevent that, she'll have to take the latter's. She'd love to mess with Seol, no doubt, but maybe it's best if she turns them both down. She has revenge in mind, but if she were 20, she wouldn't have. If it were back then and she had this dilemma, she'd probably go for her best coffee, but she isn't. In the end, it looks like she won't have to pick anyone, with her colleague Ha-young offering to take 1 coffee off her hand. She hasn't had her coffee and it's getting close to meeting time. Willingly, Na-yoon asks her to pick which she wants and she asks for Minho's coffee. He's sad, but he covers it with a smile, while Seol also has a smile on, because Na-yoon has to drink the coffee he got her. She ends his smile by smiling back at Minho and reluctantly drinks the brand of coffee she has avoided for 7 years. After that day, things are quiet, but the routine is getting choking. It's so tight that during lunch, Ha-young complains to Na-yoon. When she was her age, she didn't have time to complain. Still, she understands her. When they return to work that afternoon, both ladies are pleased when Minho brings up the idea of them going on a trip. When Seol hears about it, he invites him too, but she is sure he won't do that if he knew it was Seol who gave her the second coffee. She remembers when they were in school and Tae, Seol's best friend, didn't know he liked her. It's just like now. The man is so skilled at hiding how he really feels. Out of curiosity, he wants to know who is going on the trip. When he hears it's Na-yoon, Minho, and Ha-young, he decides to tag along too. Nevertheless, he shifts the trip to the following day, with the amount of work he drops on their almost free plate. She can see how much he detests Minho from the way he glares at him while talking to him and finds that attractive, even if she shouldn't. That doesn't stop her from completing the work he assigned to her, and with her fellow deputy team leader, she finishes his. Their trip is back on again. He commends them for rounding up quickly, rewarding Minho with an evening off, but he asks to see her in his office. For the man who is to try to woo her with all his might, to cancel her trip, she's livid. That doesn't stop her from respecting his position as team leader and going to hear what he has to say. Before he gets to it, he offers her a seat. Once seated, she asks why he summoned her. His reason is rather dumb. He wants her to sit still for 30 minutes. Why? To help him sharpen his senses against enemy provocation. The enemy is Minho, who has no idea he is being hated on. She doesn't think it's ethical for a team leader to pick on a deputy to dislike, yet he says nothing. As for what she'll do for 30 minutes, he orders her to go through the document she sent him and fix the flaws. She already thinks her work is flawless, and they end up arguing about it until Ha-young calls out to her. For the sake of the intruders, he will let her go on the trip, but he'll send them off first and go with her later on. It'll be awkward if she doesn't go, and it has to be him because he doesn't want to see her ride in another man's car. Like he said he would, he permits them to go on ahead, while he will come with Na-yoon later because of the self-proclaimed work they have to finish. Childish stunts are no way to win her over, she declares. But he reminds her that it already worked when she agreed to spend nights with him. At the moment, he feels like the best thing that has happened to her. But she lies that she has been with better men and calls him incompetent for being curious about the other men she has been with. With his face red with embarrassment, Seol is about to argue when a phone call comes in and interrupts them. It's Na-yoon's mom. She just got back from the hospital where she and her sister went for a checkup, and she promises Na-yoon that she is okay. Her daughter, with concern in her tone, begs her mother to call her if anything comes up. Saddened by how hard her mother works, she knows it'll be better for her if she closes the restaurant and comes back to Seoul. Seol, also concerned, asks if her mother is okay. His mistake was addressing her as mother, a title she feels he isn't worthy of calling her mom. Nevertheless, she tells him her mother is okay. She only went to the hospital to get checked. Even though that's her response, she worries about her and her health, fearing that something bad will happen to her because of their distance that grows daily. As for herself, she thinks it's high time she starts growing, although she doubts 30 is the right time to start talking about maturity. As they head out to join the others, it troubles her that the only thing she is growing at right now is reckless games with Seol, which she tags as revenge. On their way to Gangneung to join the others, Na-yoon has time to check her phone and sees that Ha-young is blowing it up with messages about complaints of Minho acting strangely. According to her, he is angry because it was he who suggested they go there to relax. He's probably mad that he couldn't go with Na-yoon. To help her young colleague feel better, she texts back assurance that they'll join them soon. Maybe that'll help the poor girl stay strong while she tries to get a ride with Seol. For him, seeing her on the phone makes him suspect she is texting Minho. This time, she doesn't play games with him, informing him that it's Ha-young she is texting, and they need to get there quickly. With that, the car falls back into silence, and she has a chance to stare out the window and admire the crimson sunset being swallowed up by the darkness. It looks like a scene straight out of a romance novel, and he notices how keenly she is staring at the sky. He concludes she is thinking and wants to know what she is thinking about, and she tells him that her focus is on the beautiful sky, a response that seems surprising to him. He didn't know her as one who loved to admire the sky and acknowledge its change. As for him, she doesn't think he has changed a bit. He is still the same as before he broke her heart, which is strange. Being the woman she is, Na-yoon thinks there is an issue with her relationship with him. She thinks something is missing that she needs to first understand to help her know why Seol changed back then. She soon notices that he is also thinking and wants to know what's going on in his head. It's a question she shouldn't have asked, one that gets her a kiss, after which he asks if they should ditch the others and go somewhere else. Na-yoon stresses that they have to go to save Ha-young, who is already waiting for them. Per her request, he pulls back and they continue their journey. On their way, she spares him a second thought, recalling how they matched perfectly while they dated. A part of her wants to know the real reason behind the breakup, but she has mixed feelings about the reply she'll get. Would it make her hate him more? Or would it make her love him again? Until she asks, she'll never know. Finally, the pair arrive at Gangneung and link up with Minho and Ha-young, and they all settle down for a meal. During the meal, it's glaring how uncomfortable Ha-young is, and the excessive care Minho is showing her when he advises her to eat a lot since she has been complaining about hotel food. Na-yoon feels bad for her, but her mood changes when he tells them that he and Seol are going for a drive. As they do so, he stresses on them using this rare opportunity to have a drink or something. With her mood changed, she suggests they have Maggioli, a traditional Korean wine. Being the traditional wine expert she is, Na-yoon knows this wine would leave a kick later. She agrees regardless. Concerning the drive back to the hotel, Ha-young asks if she can go back with Seol. Seizing this opportunity, Na-yoon supports her and talks about letting Minho take her back. The thought of getting some alone time with her lights up his mood, but Seol kills that mood by accusing him of being tipsy and unfit to take them back. Since that's the case, he doesn't mind helping the two ladies out, but Minho ends up feeling bad, wanting to be involved in the allocation. Ha-young cuts his plea short, reminding him that he doesn't like people chattering by his side while he drives. To be safe, it's best he go on his own. A bold charge, coming from the team member to the deputy team leader. At this point, giving up is the best thing to do. Still, he refuses to see reason. She thought that when she told him she didn't date men from work, he was going to get the message, but he didn't. Remorsefully, he agrees that they should all go in Seol's car. For Ha-young's sake, he thinks it's wise for Na-yoon to accompany her, and lets them leave before him. On their way back, everyone but Ha-young seems okay. She clearly had too much to drink, and that's what adds to her courage, allowing her to freely complain that earlier on Minho had told her to stay silent throughout the ride to Gangneung. The atmosphere was awkward, and she wanted to help out by starting a conversation, yet he shunned her. Sneakily, Seol stands up for him, asserting that he might have been focused on navigating his way there because he wasn't familiar with the route. In truth, he is happy that Ha-young is speaking badly about him. Although navigation sounds reasonable, Ha-young suspects there might be more to his change in attitude. More, like Minho was jealous that it was only Na-yoon that Seol called into his office as they were about to leave. She also guesses it might be that he wanted to ride with Na-yoon and not her. It looks like she is catching on, until she guesses that his reason for wanting to ride with her was that he wanted to monitor her and find weaknesses to exploit since she is his competitor. For this, she slashes him out of Na-yoon's list of potential boyfriends and endorses Seol, their team leader. Poor Na-yoon tries to stop her from spewing rubbish, but she is too late. Seol has already heard her. All this boldness is because of the Maggioli she drank, so next time they go out, Na-yoon is bound to keep her away from the liquor. In her final seconds of consciousness, Ha-young asks if she could call her big sis. She doesn't have an older sis, and would like to have one. For future purposes, Na-yoon believes it's best she briefs her junior colleague to prevent outbursts like this from happening. She isn't the only one who needs to be set straight, she also has to address Minho. For that, she dials him up and plans to meet. Initially, the plan is to meet at a cafe, but since the topic is too sensitive, she asks if they can meet in his car. That would have been a good idea, but their images would be messed up if anyone saw them together at such a late time. They end up agreeing to meet in her room. If they are spotted, he plans to lie that they were working and intends to bring his laptop along to support the preordained lie. 10 minutes after the call, she is done setting her room up when she hears a knock at the door. She can't believe he came so fast and commends him for being quick before opening the door to see it's Seol. He wants to know who she was expecting this late. She wasn't expecting him, but he came because they agreed to spend the night together today. Quickly, she pulls him in and warns him to never come unannounced. He promises to oblige, and they start getting intimate when she hears the doorbell. His arrival reminds her that he was to come over, but Seol won't budge, leaving Minho outside questioning if Na-yoon is around. In about a minute or two, he gets sick of the man's voice and asks her what she is going to do about him. Her flustered look tells him nothing, so he gives her two options: open the door or don't. Confused, she blames the heavens for putting her in this dilemma, but that doesn't stop Seol from offering to open the door himself and causing a fuss. Sternly, she snaps out of her little trance state and orders him to stay in the room. To be bossed around by a deputy team leader, he questions OI Telecom's respect for the hierarchy. Classic Seol, pulling the hierarchy card when it suits him, still she is determined that he has to leave. Sending Minho away now will pile up endless misunderstandings. She called him to her room to properly reject his proposal, to leave him. At the door, it would look like she was trying to play games with him. She has to set things straight with him, but before she can figure out what to do, Seol's jealousy kicks in. He believes Minho came on his own accord, but when Na-yoon admits she called him over, he starts to panic. He assumes he is not enough for her, wanting to know why, but she can't even think of a response to give him, with her guest getting impatient. She promises to let him in soon and orders Seol to get into the room she is pointing at. She adds that she called her co-deputy team leader over to discuss something important with him. "What's that?" he asks, but she can't tell him. All she wants now is for him to get into the closet. Finally, he agrees to hide, in exchange for one wish. Should she refuse, he will walk out the door immediately. A slight threat she can't take lightly. Her silence is the signature he needs to sign their arrangement, but as he goes into the room, he warns that if he senses any indecency, he'll run into the room like a mad dog. She'll get back to him later and lets Minho in, apologizing for keeping him waiting for so long. When they settle down, she apologizes again for making him come out late. Tired of the apologies, he asks her to go straight to the point, and she does, starting by calling back the events of the night of the project team's first meeting. It was the night he confessed to her, and she believes she didn't give him a reasonable answer then. She wants to do that now, but first she allows him to air his mind. This meeting is aimed at cutting all lingering feelings, meaning she has to hear him out first. Whatever he says won't change anything, though. She just has to do it this way so he'll leave her alone. It was the same with Seol when they were younger, but she didn't end things properly. Instead, she let them grow and ended up broken. Determined to ensure that the mistake doesn't repeat itself, she listens to his tale of how he fell in love with her. She was 24 back then, full of life, and from then until now, 7 years in total, he has been in 3 or 4 different relationships, but he didn't know of her being in any relationship. On the night of the first project team meeting, after they talked, he could tell she had one hell of a relationship. It was a giving college romance vibe, and she agrees it was indeed a college romance. She confesses that the relationship left her shaken, and things felt worse because they had overlapping friends, classmates, seniors, and juniors. With the breakup came crashing down a whole network of relationships, making social events like Che's wedding awkward. When she was around mutual friends, they kept talking about him. He guesses it must have been hard for her, talking like he's been there before. According to him, that's how 20s normally are. Relationships make them feel like connections that determine people's entire social lives. Curious, she asks if he experienced the same, and he did. He knows that practically everyone faces the same. He can now see why she doesn't want to date someone from work, but there's more to it. She just doesn't want to get broken again, because if that happens now, she doesn't see herself recovering from it. Minho, nevertheless, pushes on, agreeing that he had the same fears, but he didn't bring up his interest in her, so they could break up minutes after dating. He agrees that if they did get into a relationship and break up, it would be hard for them at work, and one of them would have to quit because the company isn't that big, and rumors could spread like wildfire. He gave this some serious thought and hates that this is what he wants. He isn't looking for a fling, but someone he can spend the rest of his life with, and he sees that person in her. He envisions only good things in their future, and she would like to subscribe to that dream, but she can't. Sure, he is good-looking and an ideal person for her, but she isn't romantically attracted to him and believes unhappiness is always around the corner. Their conversation is heading to its climax when her mother calls, and he wants to know if she has to take it. He worries about the woman's health, but is assured she is okay, and Na-yoon wants to call her later. For now, she wants them to continue their chat, however, he sees no need for them to do so. He's a smart man, and he already knows what she is about to say. Since they started their chat, she has been circling around it. She can tell he isn't romantically attracted to her, which is true. Looking back, when she rejected Seol's first proposal, she felt awful, like she had hurt someone. Now, she doesn't feel pain, but regret. Regret that she feels no attraction to a genuinely good person who spared someone like her a thought for so long. Anyway, he knows she called him here to set things straight and plans to oblige for now, keeping things professional for the time being. Nevertheless, he'd like to know her type. Of all the men she has met, her type has always been Seol, a man who could make her heart tingle, spark, and race. She can't tell him that. Instead, she claims she doesn't know her type. Well, that's all he has to hear, before announcing his intention to leave. He is almost at the door when she speaks up for Ha-young, pleading that he treat her nicer. No can do. All he wants from Ha-young is competence. Telling her to stay silent throughout the drive is something he'd still do if he had to. He makes it clear that he is not some shallow person who is nice to everyone, but a man who shows kindness only to the one he has set his heart on. That's why he was kind to her. Seeing that she can't do anything about his relationship with his junior, she stays silent, letting him leave, before he asks for a final request. A hug? Na-yoon senses no lust there. She sees it as a final goodbye to a man she rejected, but her jealous ex thinks otherwise. As the hug continues, she fears he'll rush out and cause a scene, so she cuts it short and a defeated Minho leaves. As soon as he's out, Seol rushes in and gives her a hug of his own. Initially, she urges him to let her go, but stops when she notices how fast his heart is pounding. Eventually, she gets tired and questions the reason behind the hug. He replies that he is disinfecting her, cleansing Minho's scent, aura, and all his thoughts about her. He makes it sound like the man is a hardcore villain. She tries to tell him she didn't just come back from hell, but he disagrees, adding that he too experienced hell, but in a good way. Although he had to bear her talking to another man, he got to sit on her bed after so long. He also got to inspect her teddy that she never goes to bed without. Now she contemplates throwing it away and demands that he unhand her. He would, but she did promise him a wish. He plans to cash in on that promise, yet she denies ever making one. Upset, he pulls out his phone and plays a recording of Minho when he asked her for a hug. He didn't want to go this far, but desperate times call for desperate measures. To Na-yoon, this looks like blackmail, making her challenge his sanity. Calmly, he asserts that he is sane. He only made the recording for safety measures. She refuses to believe, allowing him to ramble about his lack of trust in Minho. He doesn't trust any man left alone with a woman in such a late hour. She attempts to defend him, but gives up and requests that he delete the recording. Nothing happened between them after all. Seol is willing to do so after she fulfills her end of their agreement. Fed up with his resilience, she decides to hear him out. Sheepishly, he asks that she let him stay until she falls asleep, a request that touches her soul. His eyes are filled with the same affection from back then, making her note that his mark spanned deeper than she thought. She wonders if, when he saw her teddy, he assumed she was scared to sleep on her own, and is willing to grant his wish if he assures her he'll behave himself. Their discussion is cut short when her aunt calls, reminding her that she missed her mother's call. When she picks, it turns out to be her mother, who expresses disappointment in her. She has called various times but got no response, only to call with her sister's phone, and she took the call immediately. Na-yoon apologizes, explaining that she was in a meeting earlier. As they chat, she can tell her mom sounds different and notices the remorseful look on Seol's face. She doesn't know what's going on in his head, but things get awkward when her mother talks about a date she set up for her. She urges her daughter to meet with the guy just once and see how it goes, but she ends up being too audible and Seol hears about it. The call goes on. Her mother keeps stressing about her meeting this man so she can be close to her family, and Na-yoon's excuse is that she is too busy right now. She requests that they postpone this conversation, but her mom is unwilling to do so. She complains about her being too busy to even visit her, and they conclude that she will do so by the weekend. With that, she bids Na-yoon good night, leaving her with Seol, who looks like the call broke him. This is the first time her mother is bugging her about marriage. In the past, she kept encouraging her, advising her to put her happiness first and make good choices. This woman, so focused on getting married, is someone she doesn't really recognize. To be sure all is well, she texts her aunt to find out what the matter is. Her aunt believes she is reacting this way because they got a wedding invitation. This is a common reaction among mothers, that's why she breathes a sigh of relief. Now that she is off her phone, he seeks to know if her mother is okay. Na-yoon replies that she is and heads in to get ready for bed. When she is done, she links up with him and they both go to bed, like they did in their college days. He agrees he'd behave himself, but once the lights go out, she calls to her, seeking intimacy. Surprisingly, she complies, not sure why she is running back into the darkness that it took her so long to escape from. Unlike the first time, he seems so vulnerable, showing weakness that he never showed before. This moment with Seol reminds Na-yoon of the good days and how fun their relationship was. Now, unlike then, she notices how careful he is being around her. Although she kept her guard up when fate brought him back to her life, although she made him want her and agreed to spend nights with him like she was doing him a favor, in her heart of hearts, she knew it was all for herself. She wanted him since the day she set eyes on him again. Nevertheless, she still doesn't know why he switched on her. With held-back tears, she asks why, but he replies with further intimacy. The longing is something they have in common, but she can see that he is avoiding the question. By midnight, her head is clear, and the feelings she has for him are still there. Sure, she can't turn back time and find out why he left, but she can set limits in the present, though. Determined, she makes up her mind that no matter what happens, anything that still hurts at the end of the project ends with the project's completion. By morning, she is at work. Earlier on, she had this reluctance to show up to work today. She didn't know why. until she is faced with Ha-young, who saw someone leave her room last night and wants to know if her visitor is the reason why she looks sleep-deprived. 2 men came to her room last night, so she needs to know which Ha-young saw and the time she saw him. Fortunately, she saw Minho leave her room with his laptop and some files. She assumes they might have been a smokescreen and warns Na-yoon to be wary of him because of how mean he is. What she saw made her worry, allowing her to get next to no sleep. When she woke up, the first thing she did was head to Na-yoon's room. That's when she stumbled upon Seol leaving her room. Wow, she didn't see just one, but 2 of them, and guesses that Na-yoon didn't get sleep because she was up all night working. Ha-young just helped her cover her own tracks, and she is an honest person, a trait that makes it easy for Na-yoon to instruct her not to tell anyone what she saw and be sure she won't spill. As for the men, she texts each about Ha-young, spotting them leaving her room. She plans to use this opportunity to put some distance between her and Seol by advising him not to come see her at night for the time being. For some reason, Minho isn't at work today. It's because she rejected him? He was an anomaly she didn't see coming, and she is convinced things will still be complicated moving forward. She hates when things get complicated and prays they finish up the project soon. Days go by in silence with the ladies giving their all to make sure the progress is a success. As for the men, Minho hasn't been around that often, and Seol hasn't shown up to work today. When she rounds up most of the work, she allows Ha-young to go to her hotel room to rest and finishes up before sending an email to Seol and deciding to take a break. On her way to get lunch, she gets a call from her mother, but when she picks up, it's her aunt who responds and hits her with the news that her mother collapsed. They are currently on their way to the hospital, and when they get there, she intends to send her the address. Although she can't tell Na-yoon why her mother collapsed, she urges her to hurry over as soon as she gets the address. Her world is blurred, and all she can do right now is panic as she waits for the elevator. When it finally gets to her floor and its doors open, in it is Seol. He immediately knows something is wrong with her and interrogates her to know what it is. At the moment, she is trying to hold all the pain in, a task he just made more difficult with his show of care that drives her into tears. In between sobs, she opens up about her mother collapsing and how she is being rushed to the hospital. Without any second thought, he offers her a ride to the hospital. She accepts and they leave, speeding to the address she was given while calling the office to inform them that he and Na-yoon are busy handling important business. After he makes his calls, she gets hers, a call from her aunt who informs her that her mother was rolled into the operating room. Na-yoon's panic grows instantly, only calming down when she is promised that her mom's condition is not critical. Her aunt is positive she'll be okay, as they discovered her illness early. She wants her to share that positivity and be careful while making her way to the hospital. Seol thinks positively too, comforting her that her mother will be okay. At least they saw symptoms of illness on time. He is also convinced she'll recover in no time and encourages her strongly, against blaming herself for this and that her mother will be fine. Had she not seen him at the elevator, the narrative would have been different, with worry about her mom mixed with worry about how to get to the hospital. His kind words are also a plus for her, giving her the emotional support she needs until they arrive at the hospital. Frantically, once she is in the reception, she searches around for no one in particular, yet she manages to spot her aunt. The older lady had been expecting her much later, but her arrival earlier is also good. Beating herself up for not being there for her mother is something she can't stop. Her aunt, just like Seol, tries to make her understand that it wasn't her fault, and they should focus on positive thoughts. During her consolation speech, she crowns her the best daughter anyone could ask for, a comment that probably allows her to relax a bit. Calling Seol to thank him is the first thing she does once relaxed. Since he is concerned, she tells him the surgery isn't over. Noting this, he permits her to call him when she is done so he can come pick her, but she tries to refuse. This evening, he has to attend the mid-project report along with the team dinner, yet he is willing to ditch all that for her. He doesn't want her worrying, but that's really hard for her to do right now. Anyway, during the phone call, although she wasn't eavesdropping, her aunt heard a man's voice and got curious. She asks her about the caller and how she came so quickly, believing someone came with her, and she agrees. She tells her aunt that someone from work dropped her, but doesn't say who. She might be thinking there is a new candidate, wishing to discuss him more when the doctor calls for them. Good old Doc gives them a breakdown of how the procedure went, including the part where her mother's heart stopped twice. She is stable now, nonetheless, but for safety purposes, they placed her in the ICU for monitoring. They'd have let her see her mom, but visiting hours for the ICU were already over. It was also restricted to one person an hour, and only to close family members. Her aunt plans to check the shop and return, while she wants to hang around, but that's after she gets a cab. Her aunt feels a bus is the way to go, arguing that the terminal is close by. She suddenly pauses, however, when she spots Seol. She had recognized his voice from the phone call and hoped she was wrong. His presence brings back hurtful memories, like how Na-yoon suffered because of him. The pain makes her charge at him, strike him, and curse him. She can't help but feel pain, causing a scene and refusing to calm down when Na-yoon tries to calm her down. To confirm her suspicions, she interrogates him, wanting to know how her niece got to the hospital earlier. He explains that they work at the same company now, and he was on his way to the office when he stumbled upon her and the news of her mother collapsing. Na-yoon backs his story, and her aunt's verdict is that she quit the company. Her reaction hurts him, but all he can do is stand there silently, watching her warn Na-yoon against accommodating him. She declares that a broken bowl cannot be fixed. In case she forgot, she reminds her about how life or death things were for her back then. She reminds her of the times she collapsed because she didn't say, and they had to rush her to the hospital. During that period, she and her mother feared she wouldn't make it, but she did. Now she is seeing this same man again. Experience has taught her that people don't change, and for the first time since the second meeting, she actually thought from a different angle. Could she be right? Because even now, Seol says nothing, standing there without giving a single word of apology or excuse for his deeds. She doesn't want to see her ending like her mother, who is in the hospital now, because her heart failed her. She had longed for her husband to return, staring at the sea all the time. She doesn't know how her sister held this long, but she is looking to save her niece. For her sake, she asks him why he came back suddenly after leaving. Is he shameless, thoughtless, or dumb? Why is he doing all this? Subsequently, her aunt leaves, and it's probably time to address Seol. The silence at the moment is loud, and all Na-yoon can think about is flowers. They suffer bugs, harsh seasons, and trying times, but they still bloom in the end. With a weak smile, she consoles Seol, asking him not to take her aunt's words to heart. She apologizes on behalf of her aunt, insinuating that her outburst must be a combination of seeing her after all this time and her mother's collapse. Foolishly, listening to her aunt's words showed her exactly what she had been avoiding until now. She admits she is glad her aunt scolded him and has made up her mind that no matter the harsh seasons that come her way, she wants to face them with Seol by her side. Days go by in dreadful silence, and her mother is still in the hospital. Finally, the silence is broken when her mother asks her if she is still seeing Seol. She concludes that it was her aunt who sold her out, but it wasn't. She just noticed her daughter's face was brighter and had a hunch concerning the reason behind that smile. The chances of her falling for someone else were low. For being right, she jokes about going to an audition to become a shaman. When she decides she is done messing with her, she reveals that it was the nurse who helped her know about Seol. She thought he was Na-yoon's boyfriend, and from the description she gave, she could tell who it was. Her mom wishes to know how they met again, and she tells her about him joining her company. She adds that they aren't official yet, but he hasn't gone to work and has stayed around the hospital for a week now. As curious, she asks her if she is pushing him away and advises her to follow her joy. Life is too short, but she advises her not to do things that her heart doesn't support. All this is what she thought about when she struggled between life and death. In line with her own advice, she plans to close her restaurant and open a small cafe with the money she has saved. Her reason is that she can no longer keep up with running it, away from herself. She wants to talk about Seol. If it were up to Na-yoon's mom, she wouldn't let her daughter hang out with him. But it's up to Na-yoon. Still, she knows a true relationship survives with trust. She knows Na-yoon is oblivious to the reason why Seol switched the way he did, and out of care, asks her if she can trust him. Instead of answering that question, she throws one at her mother, wanting to know if trust was the reason why she waited for her father. It's a blow she didn't expect, and although Na-yoon's 1 hour is up, she replies that she does wait for her husband because she trusts him. He has never hurt her feelings, something she taunts Na-yoon for not being able to brag about. Leaving the ward that day, she goes out with one thing. If someone can't give you trust, then that person is not the one. It's the point her mother tried to make and the reason why she wants to be with Seol but hesitates. At the lobby, she meets up with him, thinking about how they never discussed the breakup. If it wasn't work, then it was something else that stopped them from addressing it. Right now, there is no obstacle, but she doesn't know if now is the right time to ask. She is about to do it, but he shows affection and care, inquiring about her mother's well-being. He also notes that she looks tired, so they should head back to the motel. These and his setting everything aside to be with her through these trying times. make her conclude she needs no further confirmation, and they head back together. At the motel, she moodily asks him to go back without her. She took a leave that will last until her mother is discharged and the company needs him. Currently, it's in chaos, and the project is suffering lag. Even so, he thinks being with her is more important than all that. He knows work can wait. That's a given. But her mother's illness cannot wait. His excuse means nothing to her. She isn't asking him to leave, she is harshly demanding he does so. He worked so hard on Thunder Warning, and modifying it is his first project in OI Telecom. She doesn't want him throwing all that away. A stubborn seal doesn't care. He claims to be with her now because she is struggling. Sadly, his response was not romantic at all. She finds it appalling. It didn't just show her that he is self-centered, but also that he hasn't changed. His immaturity exists, and his attitude of abandoning everything and everyone else to chase what he feels is right. His stubbornness is what she wants freedom from, along with his definition of affection. She no longer wants this kind of thing. In truth, she didn't mean to spell things out so harshly, but she was angry. Yes, she is glad he drove her to the hospital and stayed by her side throughout. His being around saved her from eating alone and the stress of buying things the hospital needed for her mom. He handled that. She is grateful to him. Nevertheless, all his good deeds don't solve her problems. It's an emotional time. Her words hit him hard, and he agrees to go since she sees him as irresponsible, but wants to know one thing before leaving. He wants to know if she will trust him and give him a second chance after he sets the project in order. The look in his eyes shows desperation when it was he who called off the relationship in the first place. Once more, she is faced with a familiar warmth that usually clouds her decision-making. This time, however, she is focused enough to ask him to pull back from her and go. Her mom would be discharged soon, so she wants to take care of things on her own until then. Concerning her discharge day, he asks if he can come. Seriously? Her aunt almost chewed him up. What would her mother do? What'll he say to her? His stubbornness remains, so he requests that she call him when her mother is discharged. His desire to pick her up remains, nevertheless, she declines his offer, breaking his heart and subsequently making him leave silently. Alone, she breaks down again, but she loosens up in the coming days, especially the day her mother gets discharged. She helps her back home and wishes to do more to help, but her mother wants her to go back to work. Her aunt, on the other hand, doesn't mind her quitting and coming to join the new cafe as a barista. Her mother's will to keep fighting helps her confirm that she is truly her mother's daughter. Later on, she leaves her mom and aunt with a weak smile, sure that her mom could tell she was worrying about Seol. Can't blame her, their last meeting was a bust. From her parents' house, Nayoon takes a train to link up with her best friend Chai. As usual, it's all smiles and emotion with these two, especially after she confirms that Nayoon's mother is doing okay. Chae, because her kids are at her in-laws' place, invites Nayoon to come chill with her at her house. Their little meeting is booming with gist, ranging from her mother's surgery to Chae weaning her son. It delves into gossip, however, when she asks about Seol. She isn't trying to be nosy, but she is grateful to him for helping her out. The pain of losing a parent is something she has suffered, and she doesn't wish that pain on anyone. Nayoon, suspicious of Chai, asks why she is taking Seol's side here. She is okay with them talking about something else, while enjoying liquor. Her kids will be back tomorrow, so why not? That's what they think, until her husband, Tae, shows up. He left the kids with his parents and rushed back to get intimate with his wife, but he can see they have an intruder. His wife promises him he'll get his time when she is done with their girls' hangout, but he wants to be involved. They are all friends, after all. Watching them argue playfully, she is once again left in the third wheel seat, a chair she is used to. About Seol? She questions. Take about him, wanting to know if they had spoken recently. He assumes she is asking because of how helpful he was to her, and drops the bomb about Seol losing his mother to an illness. Was that why he went all out for her mom? She can't say for sure. Still, she feels guilty all of a sudden. Elsewhere, Seol is busy handling corporate matters, unaware that he is being discussed. When he is done for the day, he strolls through the hallway, reminiscing on his last encounter with Nayoon as he stares at his phone expectantly. He remembers how she accused him of being irresponsible and selfish, just as he had been in the past, and a cloud of sadness overwhelms him. He's still sad, however, when he gets a call from Tai. According to the family man, Nayoon will be crashing at his place with Chae, so he had to leave with the kids. He is sure he'll be bored later, which is why he's reaching out. It's a Friday, a perfect time for them to grab dinner and catch up. Although Seol agrees, his main focus now isn't their meeting up later, but Nayoon being in Seoul. With the way their last meeting ended, all he does from the moment the call ends until he gets home that night is think about an excuse to use and pick Nayoon up the following day. He desires to see her. That's all he wants, as he lay there defeated. Fortunately for him, the gods answer his prayers, and he gets an unexpected call from the same woman he is losing sleep over. She wants to meet, and he is okay with that, although he doesn't get why she sounds like she caught a cold. As the call continues, she asks for his address, but he doesn't think she should come over. He can't tell her that, though. Instead, he suggests they meet outside. This makes her suspicious that he is not home alone. He claims he is, however, so she again asks for his address, and he obliges. Once off the call, Seol cancels his dinner plans with Tai via text, meaning the family man might end up spending the night with his kids. Our guy, on the other hand, tries to prepare himself mentally for whatever is about to happen. A few minutes into his preparation, Nayoon arrives all flustered, unlike her usual composed self. She doesn't even wait to be let in or say a word to him before she waltzes into his home and glances around suspiciously. The house looks too neat to be his. That's why she asks him if it is his house or a motel. He replies uneasily that it's indeed his place, and he lives alone, but she doubts that. How can a 30-year-old man live alone? She asks him where his parents are, trying to hold back tears the whole time. Seol, suddenly downcast, replies that they are gone. She then wants to know when he planned to tell her, if ever. She wishes he were plain honest with her from the beginning, but he kept to himself back then because he knew how far she would have gone for him. He believes she would have stolen from her mother's emergency savings if she had to, which he wouldn't have liked. Seeing reason with him, she opens up about knowing his mother died of a heart attack, information he is sure she got from Tai. Nayoon agrees she did, but still, she wanted to hear it from him. One deep gulp, and Seol starts to spill an admission long overdue. According to him, his life turned gray when his father passed away right before his final military leave. The family business was already shaky before he enlisted. He hoped things would return to normal before he was discharged, but that wasn't the case. All he could do was stand by and watch it all collapse. Since his father was gone and his business with him, his mother, who had never worked a day in her life, was forced to do more work than necessary, taking up multiple jobs to get by. She overworked herself and paid little attention to her health, a mistake that led to her demise when, one day while working at a restaurant, she collapsed from a heart attack. If the ambulance had gotten to her on time, maybe she would have survived, but Seol will never know because they arrived a second too late. Just like that, his mother and father were gone. All he had was a deadbeat uncle who used to run the business with his father. The man not only sued him, but also borrowed money from loan sharks in his and his late mother's name. Not long after doing this, he fled the country, relocated abroad, and left Seol to pay for debts he had no idea of. The loan sharks, fiendish men, didn't care who took their money. All they cared about was that Seol paid them, and if he didn't, they promised to take his girlfriend and sell her as payment. The already beaten man couldn't let his family problems cost Nayoon her bright future, or the money she was bound to make. So the only way he could think of protecting her was by proving to them that she wasn't his girlfriend, so they'd leave her alone. His plan worked, costing him his last beam of hope. Once she was safe, he took on so many odd jobs and endured little to no sleep as he paid off the loan sharks, little by little. During one of his odd jobs, he ran into Tae and eventually got invited to his wedding. It was a beautiful day, truly, but he maintained his distance from Nayoon, who was also at the wedding, even though it hurt to see her with someone else. He planned to show face and ghost, but he ran into a teacher who was truly concerned about him and the reasons behind his leave of absence from school. He knew Seol as a diligent man and wasn't going to let his prior efforts go to waste. For that reason, they caught up after the wedding, and he was referred to a law school professor who advised him on how to approach law firms for help. He had heard the case with his uncle, and the loan sharks were being handled legally, and his uncle was put on the wanted list. He was basically a free man, and that meant he could finally concentrate on graduating. Seol's life was finally on track, and that gave him time to think about the woman he had given up, Nayoon. His first move at getting back with her was a drink with Tai, who advised him against thinking he could stop Nayoon from getting married. Although true, those words and regret sent him into tears, leaving his friend speechless. Seol was determined to get his lady back, and there was no way he could talk him out of it. In the days that followed, a focused Seol created Thunder Warning, not just to help his country, but also as his last chance to get back with Nayoon. The rest is history, shaped by how she decides to respond to his story. Sure, she understands what he is saying, but she wishes he had walked up to her at Che's wedding. Admittedly, he would have, but he couldn't because of how pretty she was. If she were a little less pretty, he would have given it a try, given his position at the time. Also, he assumed the man she was with was her boyfriend. His thinking that actually annoys her, because aside from him, she hasn't had interest in any man, let alone dating anyone. Hold up, didn't she say she had lots of men after him? He gets curious and she reveals that she just said that to piss him off. If so, he wants to know why she's been taking birth control pills. There are too many questions within a short time, so she gets partially furious, replying that the birth control pills became necessary as she got stressed and her cycle got messed up. The reason for her stress, moreover, is him, her ex, who made her go from team leader to deputy team leader after all her hard work. She confesses that for the downgrade, she planned to get revenge, but he wouldn't even let her. He thinks her reason for not wanting payback anymore is because he is so pitiful. And she agrees, although she wants to know why he didn't just say sorry and save her from the stress of being dropped to a deputy team leader role. His reason is that if he said sorry then and didn't come this far, they would have remained as ex-lovers, nothing more. He knows her so well, and can boldly say that if not for his lengthy approach, they would have sorted things out based on facts and wouldn't have gotten a chance to turn back their past feelings. Since she is the type who only opens up when someone keeps crashing into her from the side, he had to be in a position where he could keep crashing into her. He was already in a bad place with her based on how things had gone down in the past, and this was the best way he saw to atone. The man admits he used her lingering anger against him to keep her attention on him until he overcame it. It's the advantage he got from knowing her well, and she is so touched that she is left in tears. To finish off his reconciliation speech, Seol adds that although he gave her a chance to torment him, all she did was keep him close. He found that funny, but good. Looking back at his conversation with Tae concerning Na-yoon getting married to someone else, he was torn just thinking about Na-yoon being so free and making memories with someone else. That feeling made him understand that human greed knew no end. All the man wanted to do was hug her with everything he had when he saw her, and that's what he did. Finally, they share a warm hug, and she pours out all the little mixed feelings left, letting him know that she is sorry for hating him while she didn't know what he was going through. But he sees no reason for her to feel sorry. He wants to be the one to feel sorry and says that the fact that he hurt her doesn't change. That declaration makes her pull back, curious about what he meant by bringing that up. He explains that although he can't change the past, he is ready to go all out, to do better moving forward. He then apologizes to her, and she accepts, promising to watch how well he does from now on. Following the heart-to-heart between the two is a rather spicy, heated moment. By the break of day, the pair were relaxed and focused on the virtual meeting with the executive director, Minho, and others. With them is Ha-young, and the three successfully scale through the meeting, impressing everyone with their progress. At the close of the meeting, everyone is about to go off when Na-yoon asks the executive director when they'll be allowed to leave the lodging. The old man first jokes that they'll be here for a while, then corrects himself, saying they'll be leaving by autumn once the interaction design configuration is finished. With that, he closes the meeting, and Minho tells the gang that he'll see them tomorrow when he returns. Ha-young, eager to leave, tells Na-yoon and Seol she'll have to do work stuff, and they acknowledge it. The problem is that Seol is feeling peckish for drama, and in Ha-young's presence, asks Na-yoon to meet him in his room for a brief meeting. Playing it cool, she tries to dodge the request, but he keeps pushing it, making her feel uncomfortable. Once the third wheel leaves, she challenges him, asking why he is acting like a 4-year-old. He dismisses her tone, assuring her that there is nothing to hide, since their coworker knows they are dating. Na-yoon, unaware of when she agreed to date him, asks him why he assumes they are in a relationship. His basic reply, in a bold tone, is that they are dating, since they do things other couples do. The way he sees it, everyone on the team but her knows they are dating. Could it be that she is indulging in a secret office romance with him? He has to know. Firmly, she replies that she doesn't date men from the same department, but in a sheepish tone, she lets him know she'll see him by 10. 10 is fine by him, but he doesn't leave it there. He wants to know if, although she doesn't date men in her department, she doesn't mind getting married to one. Bringing this topic into the discussion makes her bubbly, but she asserts that she'll need time to cautiously review that and get back to him. In the end, she leaves with a beaming smile on her face. Watching her, he recalls that when his world crumbled and he lost his home, she was his compass. And for that, he is grateful. Days go by. Intimacy becomes a constant, and after one session, Na-yoon and Seol lie down to rest on the sofa. There she gets cold, and the idea of him getting a fireplace crosses her mind. She shares this idea with him, but it puts him in a bit of a bind. Concerning their relationship, she has stayed silent, although she visits him and leaves whenever she wants and has kept on buying accessories, like lights and more, for his house. For better understanding, he asks for the reason behind her request, and she replies that she wants his house to feel more like home while she's away. Plus, winter was on its way. He'd need a fireplace to stay warm like she wants it to be while she is away. The days that follow are quite silent for the two, but it doesn't stay silent for Na-yoon when she links up with her loud friend, Chae. The pair are out having a drink and catching up like old times. To her surprise, during the meeting, Na-yoon looks down, forcing her to ask what's up. Her friend then tells her that the company wants her to pursue a master's degree abroad. She always wanted that, even with the pros and cons involved, but for her to feel bad about it all of a sudden. Chae is left to guess that her guilt stems from not telling Seol about it. She has to switch on big sis mode and advise her to tell her man about it, especially since he might want to go with her. Well, she is keeping it a secret because of that. She can't allow a man who just handed over the company he built to throw it all away when he hasn't even been at his new job for a long time. That's selfish. She suspects he has many things he wants to achieve, and she refuses to rob him of that. Chae, knowing Seol, understands that Na-yoon is the reason why he came to her company in the first place, and he'll be willing to go abroad with her. They both know that man inside out, yet his lady doesn't want him to go all out with her, because she is scared. It's cowardly, true, but given how things ended last time and the pain that followed the breakup, she is trying to avoid that. Yes, she loves him and understands why he did what he did, but the after-pain was because they clung to each other too desperately. This time she doesn't want to hang on that way, or make him the center of her world, or her the center of his. She wants a healthy distance, which isn't too much to ask for. She desires a relationship in which they don't hurt each other, a mature love in which they can talk honestly about how they want to live and what they want their future to be. She's telling this to a married woman, though, and although she understands her view to an extent, Chae knows the chances of them hurting each other sanely exist. Whatever it is, she knows it'll be better to just open up to Seol and talk to him about the trip. After all, it's not a short trip. Faced with only one option in mind, Na-yoon looks to open up, but her best friend starts laughing, her reason being that she quickly rekindled her flame with Seol, and if they are being logical, keeping that flame is something he should worry about more than her. Laughing was also to lighten up the mood, though they came to enjoy it. Anyway, she sees reason in her friend's statement, wondering if the reason for her worry is that they reignited their flame too quickly, and she resents that. It's a proud belief, nevertheless, pride is the most important thing in a relationship. It makes or mars it. Chae encourages Na-yoon not to hold everything in alone, advising her to let Seol carry some of the burden too. It might be a load of tipsy talk, caused by excess alcohol, but that's the message she takes home. Sometime later, she meets her man, hoping to discuss the matter at hand. Her proposed journey abroad. She starts the discussion with a warm meal and pushes it further by saying she wants his house to be a warm home for him when she isn't there. It's the second time she has said this, so he pays attention and asks why she is trying to say she won't be around when she is. Seizing the opportunity, she tells him about the company-sponsored master's degree she wants to chase abroad. She informs him that she'll be gone for at least 3 years and is shocked when he wraps her in a warm hug. He is overjoyed, as he knows she has always wanted to go abroad. On top of that, when she returns, she's bound to get a better spot than the one she has, and that makes him really happy. His joy increases, however, when she adds that after coming back from this, she'll be set on the executive track. Aside from that, he wants to know what's next for them. For that, they sit down to discuss during dinner. As they chow, they break things down together, piece by piece, starting with Seol's desire to move abroad with her. He thinks it's sensible, but she doesn't. He asks her for the reason behind her thinking this way, but it's not something she can answer simply. In the past, he thought too far ahead, expecting the dream life everyone craves. Fancy houses, cars, and every lavish thing possible to make their life blissful. It might have been his way of avoiding a breakup. At the moment, seated across from her, he braces himself for a breakup. I mean, she looks like she is about to pull the plug on their relationship, yet he refuses to let her do that. Like a man of purpose, he unboxes everything, admitting that although he doesn't know what's on her mind, he doesn't want to break up with her, and is sure she thinks his wanting to come with her is irresponsible. That being said, he will stay back, finish all the projects he has to finish, and after that, he'll come find her. Spoken like a true man, he's managed to convince her to let him come, despite her earlier position, but he just wants to send her off with a smile and wish her well, certain that even if they are far apart, they'll still be together and nothing will change. The man isn't lying. He braves up and sees her off when the time comes, but on his way back home, he takes a detour and visits Na-yoon's mom. They must have settled, seeing as she is so eager to welcome him, although she expected him to be busy seeing her daughter off right about now. He reveals that he did the necessary and is back. He came to see her, by the way, because he doesn't want her to spend the holidays alone. With him is food and a warm smile, but she argues that she isn't some lonely old lady. Agreeing with her, he confesses that his second reason for coming is that he doesn't have anywhere else to go for the holidays, putting up a pitiful face that she just can't say no to. On their way in, she asks if he has had dinner, and he has. He checks on her too, and she hasn't, claiming it's too early for her to have dinner. Inside, Seol notices that the room is quieter than usual and asks about Na-yoon's aunt. He learns she went to visit her mom's grave. She hasn't done that in a while. Surprisingly, they aren't done talking when she rushes in, gleeful as ever. Although she initially planned to go to the gravesite, she was discouraged by the traffic jam she encountered on the way and turned back. She is glad she did. If not, she might have missed Seol, whom she is very happy to see. Watching them discuss, Na-yoon's mother's heart fills with joy, and she extends it by inviting him to dinner. There's no way she is letting him go without tasting her home-cooked meal, that's for sure. 4 months later, it's summer, and the office is more or less a barracks. Everyone is on edge because of the pressure Seol is putting on himself to make sure his project is up to speed. He walks in, head held high, but his team members can see he is on edge, and it's affecting them. Their project has been delayed due to errors, and vacations have been cut. Minho thinks they've been pressured so much that they are a mess. The executive director couldn't agree more. Exhausted from all the Seol-related pressure, he decides to take a 2-week break and grants Seol and his team the same grace. The smile on his face upon hearing the news shows our boy is elated and definitely going abroad to meet his lady. In the next day or so, Na-yoon is seen running through the streets on her way to the airport. She's glad that her boyfriend is on his way to see her, but stops to rest at the traffic light. As she resumes her journey, she stops once more when she sees a man in the distance who looks a lot like Seol. Her first thought is that she missed him so much that she is seeing things. Logically speaking, he isn't supposed to be here. His plane hasn't landed yet, but she's wrong. It's him. Tossing her bag aside, she runs to him. Curious, she asks how he came so fast, and he replies that his love must have made the plane go faster, which isn't sensible, but no one's complaining. It's the reunion they've been looking forward to, so they take things from the streets back to her apartment, which she hopes is soundproof. Before they get to testing that, they make dinner together, and it's going smoothly until Seol notices an error in the knife drawer. Although Na-yoon dismisses the need to fix it, he is too worried to let it slide and gets it fixed immediately after dinner. Once he is done, she praises him for being such a handyman. By doing so, she allows him to commend himself, saying he is worth living with. He then pulls out a ring and asks if she would like for them to start living together by the end of the year. Yes, he is proposing to her. As he planned, she says yes, and he promises to finish the project well before Christmas so they can get married. For the time being, he urges her to show the ring on her hand to any guy who as much as asks her for a drink. She'll do just that. But if they get married on Christmas Day, she thinks they'll be sworn at. If that happens, he is open to not inviting people who swear at them to their wedding. In the blink of an eye, the wedding is just days away. It's winter and some days until Christmas, and Na-yoon, Chae, her mother and her aunt are out for a ladies' night, her last one before the wedding. While her mom worried about Seol quitting his job once the project was handled, her aunt saw him as a real man, and Chae's joy over the outing, there are a lot of mixed feelings flying around. They decide to leave their views and focus on Chae's. She's the most ecstatic of all, seeing herself as a character in a romantic comedy. Everyone else is happy for Na-yoon, but the older women can't keep up with the younger ladies, and her mom wants them to go in, have fun, and be on their way. It's the last place on Na-yoon's list, after all. In the venue, a comfortable cafe, Chae keeps the mood alive, embarrassing Na-yoon when she tells everyone about her friend's diary. Basically, Na-yoon wrote everything in her diary, including the rules of her relationships. The first rule was to never date a man from work. She spills, even though Na-yoon tries her best to stop her. Once that rule slips out, her aunt jokes that precautions are written down so no one reads them. The joke livens the table more, although the most alive is the best friend, laughing so loudly at the joke that Na-yoon is embarrassed. Her mother, following up on the joke, asks if she didn't keep her rule because she wrote it down. Placing her hand on her daughter's hand, she advises her to live without regrets, so she won't need to take precautions anymore. Those deep words from a mother's heart make her stroll down memory lane to her younger years. She agrees she doesn't know what she was feeling the day she drafted the relationship rule, yet she plans to uphold her mother's advice and live without regrets. She uses that mindset on Christmas Day, walking down the aisle with her man, Seol, on their wedding day. In attendance were her friends and family. Everyone is happy about the long overdue union. At the altar, Na-yoon is so shy that she can't look her man in the face. To her aid comes Chae's son, their ring bearer. He passes the ring to the couple, they exchange it, and the boy demands a kiss from them. He must have heard the word from his mother, and Chae doesn't discourage him. She beckons to the couple to deliver a child-friendly kiss, and they don't disappoint. So why is this union so magical? Let's recap. 2 strangers met, fell in love, and it became destiny. What's left? The future, it'll be a blast, they can tell. Maybe it won't be a blast every day, but they'll keep living, striving to be happy together. And with that, this beautiful story comes to an end. Did you enjoy it? Then rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 below. Until next time, ciao!